Yep, come on in.
Want to sign in?
Welcome. It's the Conservation Commission, August 7th, 2019. I figured we'd switch things up tonight. I'd like to start doing the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the meeting, so if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Yep. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First up at 7 is 82 Eight Lots Road. This is just a project update, right?
Yeah, it's informal. I'm gonna get a long agenda, so I'll try to be brief. Mr. Chairman, my name's Kevin Quinn with Quinn Engineering. I'm here on behalf of Bilal Java. Bilal is with me tonight, is George Carizzi, his legal counsel. Bilal proposes to build a single-family home at 82 Eight Lots Road. The home is for himself and his family. He's not a developer. 82 Eight Lots Road is a tree lot. It has 52 feet of frontage. There's a long panhandle, if you will, and then it opens up, and it's actually 24 acres of land.
I know this lot, yeah.
You know the lot, yeah.
Yeah,
We've seen this before.
Yeah, there's a historic marker at the beginning of it.
There is,
Yeah,
right
yep.
nearby. Yeah. If he develops this lot in a conventional fashion, we're gonna be bringing a driveway in. It'll pass immediately adjacent, I should say, to a local jurisdiction wetland, a wetland under your bylaw. Goes in a few hundred feet, and then we reach a large BVW, which also contains intermittent streams. So we're estimating 971 square feet of wetland filling, and we'll have at least one stream crossing for an intermittent stream. From our standpoint, it's not optimal. We'd like to look at some other options. As it turns out, Bilal has family with properties on West Millbury Road. And there are two lots in particular owned by family members that are served by a common driveway. If we're able to extend a third driveway off that common driveway, we can bypass this entire wetland area. And the driveway actually passes through what would be buffer zone and aura under the bylaw. So in this fashion, we could eliminate all BVW filling and stream disruption, right? Our burden is that in order to do this, we have to secure a special permit, amend the special permit, existing special permit for the common driveways, and we need zoning relief. That's on us. What brings us here tonight is to talk to Conservation about seeking some form of communication to the planning board and the zoning board that articulates your interests. We believe that there's an interest on the part of the community in what we're talking about doing. In other words, it's good for Bilal if we can extend this common driveway out. It helps him. But it's also in the interest of the community, particularly conservation. We can eliminate a significant wetland crossing. So if the board sees fit and is able to do so, some form of communication, whether it's a memo, a letter, email, something to articulate to that board that you see an advantage, an interest in our being able to secure that third driveway off the common driveway. It would be beneficial to us, and we think it's beneficial to the interest of conservation.
Can I get one up?
Yeah.
Can I make one up? George Carizzi,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. There's one other point we want to mention as well. When Bilal purchased his property in 2017, his family had bought their houses years earlier. These houses, which have the common driveway now, also have some shaded area which is subject to restrictions that have been imposed through the Concom and through the state relative to endangered species. So that area right now, this shaded area where we're proposing to come in, is also subject to those restrictions. This driveway will not be acceptable under those restrictions. So we'll be looking also to the board, not only just for your support, if you have the flavor to support this, but would also be looking to amend those private restrictions that have been imposed on this property, taking out a section of that. The good news is that Bilal has 25 acres of land, and a lot of this land can be rededicated under so we can expand the area. Whatever we're taking out here, we can give the board significantly more area on the back of this property, because the house is gonna go in this area here. So we can dedicate a lot of the property to those same restrictions, and he can join the restrictions that are already in place on his family's properties up off of West Millbury Road. So that's also a jurisdictional request that we'll be asking the board, and, you know, we will be going to ZBA, we will be going to planning board. I know that when we do apply to them, they typically, most towns, send out to Concom for what's your thoughts on this?
So you're looking from us some sort of memo for a lesser of two evils, right?
Yes, that's kind of what,
Okay.
if it's accepted, that's what, you know,
Okay.
and it's not really worth going down that road if the Concom is not interested in giving this relief under those restrictions, because we have to go to you folks, and we have to go to state and
I get you.
NISA to get those, your flavor.
Brandon, do you see any benefit of filling the wetlands versus coming in off the existing common drive?
If you can find an alternate that will avoid impact of wetland is exactly what the state law requires it to try to avoid wetlands, and the bylaws spells it out specifically. And while you were talking, I pulled up the requirement. We have what's called the impact of avoidance and minimization requirement under the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. And there's a series of questions that you have to answer that justifies your alteration of wetland. And if you go to section 1C, it asks whether any of the properties reasonably available to but not currently owned or controlled by the applicant could be used to achieve the project purpose while avoiding wetland resources, areas, and/or AWRA alterations. A property is reasonably available if, in whole or in part, it can be acquired without excessive cost, taking individual circumstances into account, or, in the case of property owned or controlled by the same entity, group of affiliated entities, or local, state, or federal government, may be obtained without excessive hardship. So it's specifically spelled out in here. If you can do that, you are actually required to look into it and present to the commission as to why it was not a reasonable, why it ended up being a hardship. So this is exactly the kind of thing that the commission is looking for as its requirement under the bylaw. But also the state law has a requirement, it's not as specifically spelled out as like it is in this policy. But if you look at the 310 CMR 10, there's a requirement that says that the applicants have to do their best to try to avoid impacts to wetlands. And it goes without, they don't spell it out, but it goes without saying that if you could get an easement or purchase a property right next door, that's the preferable option. What number property was it?
82 A-lots.
Yes, but the property you'd be going through.
4139. It's a common drive for 41 and 39.
Now, you're right though, there is the issue of endangered species, which means that there would be a dual application, notice of intent to the Conservation Commission, because you still threading the needle between two wetlands there. And you would also have to do a Massachusetts Endangered Species Act application to Natural Heritage.
We would.
So, I mean, it might pass with us or not pass with them, it's just part of the process.
Joyce, do you have any issues with it?
I think the endangered species is going to be a problem, and also the ZBA and planning board may be a problem. We just had one where they wouldn't allow 3 inches on a new lot.
That was the state law.
Yeah, well, so I don't know where that puts this, so I think you need to
That was different, that
do
was for
your
our opening.
planning board issues before you come back and
Understood.
come
I
and
don't think
see
there's any
us.
question that, we have our work cut out for us, we understand that, and that's why, we think the support of conservation will be important to our being able to do this.
Bill, do you have any issues with me sending a memo? That this is the lesser
I
of two
don't, you
evils?
can reference,
Well, I think there's an issue of you sending a memo before they come and give a presentation and file an NOI or an RDA.
I don't think so.
Joyce, I don't think that you have to send them memo. I think all they have to do is give them an example of that avoidance and minimization requirement, circle that. That's part of the process.
I know you folks have a big agenda, but typically, I'm gonna be going to CBA next, we're gonna be filing for a variance. There's a variance that we're gonna be asking for. When we apply for that variance, they typically send out requests to all town departments and commissions, and they say, what's your comments? Now, if it wasn't a comment, maybe Board of Health wouldn't have a comment, maybe Concom wouldn't have a comment, if this was, far away from wetlands, you wouldn't have a comment, you wouldn't make a comment to them. When this does come across your desk, if it's something that you have the flavor for, that this seems, you'll at least be aware when it comes across your desk, what we're trying to accomplish here.
Okay.
And we know that the endangered species is an issue. We believe that MISA, the endangered species will work with us, Natural Heritage will work with us on it. This was, the JABES reimposed these restrictions back in 2014 because they had been wiped out in a foreclosure. So they voluntarily reimposed them on the property back in 2014.
Okay.
What are these restrictions?
So, endangered species. So, the original developer, when they had carved up all these lots, imposed restrictions. The property was foreclosed, and when it was foreclosed, it eliminated those restrictions. The JABES purchased the property without them. But when they built, they reimposed the restrictions that had been eliminated, that had been foreclosed out of
A
existence.
conservation restriction with natural heritage?
Yes, yes. And it originally was 3 endangered species. 2 of the species have been delisted. So there is still one species, I think it's a box turtle. And
Yeah, probably spotted turtle was another one, and,
I
Oh,
think it was a
three-toed
salamander.
Three-toed salamander.
yeah, so yeah, the box turtle's still on the list, right?
And you're gonna be careful of the historical marker there.
Well, we'd
We're
like to
hopefully-
avoid that
We're gonna be
altogether.
all together.
Yeah.
We're gonna be all up here. And by the way, as good as this is, environmental and brings the family into a nice, family compound area, which would be very nice. It's also better for the abutters up here. I mean, they don't wanna have the driveway coming down next to their properties. I think it's a win-win-win-win-win.
That's a King property, right? Lenny King,
Yes.
yeah.
Cole and.
Mike, do you have anything?
I have a couple questions. What's the distance from the wetland to the proposed road?
There to there?
No. Wait, no?
Yeah, that's already
That's all
in place.
existing.
This
So is that
is
blue?
within so this yellow
Yeah.
is the 100-foot buffer.
Right, so what's your
This-
distance?
Like 75.
feet, 70 feet.
And there's no way to bend the line so that you're not in our
Well,
jurisdiction?
This here, there is an area, and this hasn't been delineated, you can see it, the dashed line, there's an easement here for gas, natural
Oh, all
gas.
right.
that
Yep,
is-
yep.
So we try to keep, we're skirting. a
Stay
bunch
on
of-
the edge of that?
Yes.
And then, so you have to go to ZBA, what's the variance you need?
The variant, so under ZBA, there has to be under the bylaw, for a retreat lot, the access has to come off the street where you have the frontage. So that would have been.
Oh, right.
So if they give us the permission to have our access off of.
Another street.
This.
Because you can do 3, you just
Yeah.
can't do it because it's,
Right.
Exactly.
okay,
You can do 3 off a common drive?
yep.
Yes.
You can.
If it, I didn't know about that, that's why I was wondering why you were going to ZBA. And then planning board for the,
And
then they
planning
can
board for
grant the-
Amend the special permit.
well, a special permit for a common drive.
And for the estate lot, even though so this lot appears, based on my review, is a remnant parcel. There was a large lot, a big tract, and a lot of properties were taken out. It's remnant, it qualifies under the retreat lot or estate lot.
Well then, so where the registered, I've personally walked this property over the years, it's a piece that's been for sale, I think, for 30 years. So it's nice, this is a great plan, out of all the times I've actually walked it, and, because this will be the least impact, so what would we put in place? Because that is kind of a historic little road through there, would you keep it cleared, the brush?
I don't think there'd be, I don't.
He wasn't
think
gonna
there'd be-
maintain it, I know there's a
restriction.
wetland, but I mean a footpath,
I
there's
think
foot
so.
traffic through there, there's been for as long as I can remember, is it all grown in now?
I think it's all going in.
I've personally walked down that, so that's probably over the last,
I hate to cut it short, but we're right at the 15
yep,
marker.
yep, I got no more to say.
All right, Nicole, do you have anything on
Can
this
you
one?
point to which property you'd be coming in through?
So where is West Millbury? So it's can you put the property lines up? Yeah, okay.
This is us right here.
Do we need enough frontage for
If-
common driveways?
50 feet.
You'd be
Yeah,
coming
for
in through
common.
43?
No.
Yeah,
Oh, the common driveway, I
No,
think
it's
is just.
41.
Andy, I think it's a much better way to do it.
Wouldn't
Okay.
you need 750
That
feet
is
of
no
frontage to
divided?
get 3 off
These are no
common?
maps.
That I don't know, that's
Yeah.
planning, I'm not sure.
How about this?
That's better. We'll be coming in right here. So here's your easement, you can see the gas easement, this looks like a road, or this
Right
looks
beside.
clear. So we're coming in right here, right up to here.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, but I don't know if it's gonna fly with ZBA.
The only other thing to
that's-
check is how much frontage is on West Millbury.
Over 50.
But
Yeah.
check with planning, I thought you had to have 250 feet per lot for a common driveway, so you'd need 750 feet, but I might be wrong. I
I
don't.
think you can do it on a, in a state law can't access, so I can
Okay.
have a 50. I think I
You
looked
can
at
have
it.
50,
Yeah.
100% they can do it.
Yeah,
They
Because
can.
it's still a
The
retreat
only
lot.
thing that doesn't meet the written requirement is that's 2 street frontage.
Yes.
Yeah.
By right,
Yeah.
Right.
he would be able to not go to ZBA if, I didn't know about the frontage, but you can do a common like that, like a retreat with a frontage with one access.
Yeah.
You could do a frontage and a retreat with one
There
access.
is,
But
there's
you
a
can do-
separation requirement though, but we do comply with the
Okay.
separation requirement. You're right.
I just didn't wanna see you go too far.
Retreat lots must be separated by,
Right, 250 feet.
Right.
Which
That
is
we
what-
comply with that.
So this here is a retreat lot, and this is a retreat lot. So, because you notice how tight the frontage is, but they're separated by 250 feet right up here.
Good.
Nicole, do you have anything on this one? All right,
We may be back.
sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for meeting with us.
Yeah.
All right, 7:15, so it's gonna be a, new notice of intent. 329 West Sutton.
7:25.
What's that?
7:25.
7:15.
7:15.
Okay. The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 7th, 2019, at 7:15 PM at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted to the Conservation Commission by Jamie and Kimberly Mulderig. Is that correct?
Yes.
Sutton, Mass. The project consists of installation of a septic system repair and culvert replacement with associated site work on map 35, parcels 130, on 329 West Sutton Road, Sutton, Mass. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Welcome.
Good evening. Just for the record, Scott Morrison from Ecotech on behalf of the Mulderigs.
1 second. Wanda, do we have the abutters notifications?
I made copies of the notifications.
Okay. Do we have a DEP number on this?
Yes, I handed that as well.
What is
Did I
it?
write it on there?
No.
No.
4902.
3030902. Do you have applications with any other boards?
There may be a application with the Board of Health for the septic repair.
Okay. Looks good.
All set.
What's up?
Just for the record, Scott Morrison from Ecotech, here on behalf of the Mulderigs. Just to get you oriented, this is West Sutton Road, existing single-family house, driveway comes in. They've got a failing septic system, so they've been, I think monthly or bi-weekly, they've had to go and pump that system out. So the proposal consists of installation of a new leach field, and at the same time, when they do that, they're looking to replace, there's an existing pipe that flows from underneath the road, there's a drop inlet, there's a swale, the drop inlet drops underneath and discharges here. They figured at the same time, they might as well replace that. They were gonna put in a small subdrain to keep water. Apparently it's an issue kind of in the winter where you've got sheet flow coming across and icing up the driveway, so they wanted to resolve that at the same time while they had the equipment on site. Wetland resource areas consists of bordering vegetative wetland. There's a pocket here that essentially flows down around intermittent stream that flows this way. This also flows down and ultimately merges with that intermittent stream. There's an existing well here with the 100-foot setback, and then these are some steep slopes. And then you've got a electric transmission line here. So essentially, the only place that they can put the septic system is where it is. It's just offset slightly from where it is currently, but that's really the only place that they can put it without disturbing, extensive steep slopes. erosion control barrier consisting of silt fence and straw bales will be installed around the system, as well as down gradient from this proposed replacement pipe.
Excuse me, no straw bales.
Would you prefer straw
What?
wattles?
Yes.
That's fine. That's reasonable. That's essentially the project. I'd be happy to answer questions if the commission has them.
Brandon?
I went to the site today, reviewed the wetland boundaries, no issue with the wetland boundaries. So I want to ask you a question, Scott. The A series, you say that goes down to the B?
Ultimately, I think it flows, if I remember correctly, it comes, there's an existing house over here. I think
Yeah,
that's
and
a little duck
it
pond.
was someone else's property, so I was only looking from like the property line.
Yeah, it looks like, I did the same thing. It looks like there's an outlet on the other side of that little dark line.
I believe it looked like, because there's water on the other property, like it looked like it could have been ILSF, but I didn't see any outlet. I'll take your word for it, so call it a BBW. The C series as well?
Yeah, this actually kind of
Wraps
goes
around.
this way and then wraps all the way around.
Okay. Other than the erosion control barrier, it'd be nice to get a new detail on that with 100% biodegradable wattle. I think this is put in an appropriate location. It's more than where the leach field is, 100 feet away. I mean, it looks like the yard between the house and the road would be, from a wetlands perspective, that's the best place to put it, but again, he's right. We have the electrical easement, and there's also this drain to be, and we don't want, potential for a leachate getting into the drain and then straight shot down to that A-series wetland. So, I think it's, the leach field's in an appropriate location. The only thing that I will raise, and I'll let the board carry it if you so wish, on this drain, it exits, daylights as a black corrugated pipe on the hill slope. And you're gonna remove and replace the line, so what's the purpose for that again? Why does it need to be replaced?
I think part of it may be damaged, because I think if you drive down the driveway, you can see like there's a hump where the line is.
Okay.
I think it may be too close to the surface, so they figured just replace it while they've got the equipment on site.
And that's just, there's a bit of a ditch on the other side of the road, which is, I'm guessing, the water goes down the ditch, hits this drop inlet, and then, shoots across to this property. You're gonna be putting some, riprap flared end section at the end?
Yep, they're proposing flared end section with some riprap.
And that's the extent of any kind of stormwater mitigation associated with it. I understand it's a single-family house. It's kind of a weird situation though, because it kind of comes from the road, almost like it should be a town issue. Does the commission have any interest in any more robust stormwater attenuation measures? Leave it to you.
Joyce, do you have anything?
Well, that was my issue, is it a town drain because it's coming from the street, so should
Yeah.
there be some sort of communication with DPW?
Oh, there absolutely will be. They've got to install it's gonna be expensive because they've got to install a manhole on the side of the road, manhole here with the connection to the subdrain. And the source of the water is the road's kind of crowned and pitches, there's a roadside swale on the other side of the road, so it's 100% road runoff. But they're just trying to, correct the situation so that they don't have problems in the future.
So it has to go through DPW anyway.
I would imagine they'll touch base with DPW.
Send a
I
routing slip.
can pass that along.
Yep, we'll send a routing slip on that.
So there's gonna be a catch basin there?
Yeah, proposed catch basin there and here.
Deep sump, good.
Wanda, could you write a note to send a routing slip on that to the DPW? Mike, did you have anything on this?
Looks like it's really flat all around the septic, right?
It's a kind of a high spot here, and then it grades off behind
How
the
much
house.
potential for runoff?
It's
the highest point.
Yeah, everything from here
It's
kind of
gonna be all
drains,
impervious 'cause it's
drains
gonna be
away
open.
from it, so I think the only area that, you're not gonna
Just
have
'cause I'm
anything
mindful of the
washing.
cost, I would be fine myself with just a black silk fence with straw wattles on site for any areas that you would see concentrated water, so you could back it up. It just makes sense, cause you're not gonna see any water at the fence line. And the fence makes a good barrier to just keep you in the area of construction.
Yep.
I agree, so if you're gonna do some extensive road work into the street, I mean, I don't mind personally giving you the permission, but that has to be more than a routing slip. Wouldn't we just wanna make sure that in order for any of that work to commence, maybe Matt would have to be at the site visit with Brandon and just have a good start of construction for that, so that nothing goes wrong? That would be my only recommendation.
Yeah, we can, I'll relay that to the Mulderigs and I'll have them send an email or something.
To start the project, you'll have to
Yeah.
schedule with Brandon or the commission, and I think it would be good for the DPW director to be at that particular point for start of construction. And then it'll be all set and it won't get forgotten.
Bill?
I agree with everybody so far.
Nicole?
Same, I agree.
Anybody from the public? Good? We're good?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 329 West Sutton Road with the addition of 12-inch straw, 100% biodegradable straw wattles to be put on site, and for a routing slip and contact to be made with Matt Sensel.
So fence issue.
No, he said it. He said silk fence with wattle.
No, he didn't say silk, he just said,
Oh.
You want the silk fence?
Silt fence to contain.
Silt fence to
Wattles
contain.
to be the backup on site, not that you have to install them all. I think a silt fence that's installed correctly is a best barrier, when there's no flow of water at it.
Yep.
It makes a definite definition of work area. I think a lot of the times if we're not on slopes, it's more of that definition of work area so that people don't forget. And, you know, and then if we use the straw wattle for the areas where we can know that there's gonna be water directed, because what the object of that straw wattle is the increased flow when it hits the fence to give it some integrity.
So is that a second?
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
hi.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
So fence with walls back up, is there another?
Matt Sensel, make sure.
That's right.
All right.
A pre-construction meeting.
We've got a couple of minutes here, so I just,
Standard.
we have some plans that we didn't sign.
Have him there, so that it doesn't get forgotten.
Oh, it is 7:25, you know.
So
That's
there's
what
that
it's all,
street work and that catch basin that's gonna tie directly into this pipe that goes directly to the well.
I have to
It
recuse
doesn't get
myself.
forgotten to be done correctly. Or at least DPW agree to what he's doing.
Got it.
This one's from you, 11 Tucker?
No, I've used Tim in the past, conflict of interest. Yep.
Did you sign this one? Okay, so you need to sign,
You need to sign that.
I need
This one.
to take this, oops, come on, put that, yeah, straighten it out a little bit.
We got a plan to sign?
Am I signing?
You can sign tonight because you're, that's
Yeah,
not here.
and it's, this is the first.
Here's the original, you can sign that.
Andy should sign this one too. You have 11 Tucker.
Coming back, or?
He had to recuse,
Oh, okay.
so Joyce is doing this one.
There you go.
Wanted to leave that out for Andy to sign.
Yep.
You have to sign the plan and the, yeah. Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 7th, 2019, at 7:25 at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Exeter Road, Sutton, Mass. Purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted to the Conservation Commission by Diane Zielinski, Sutton, Mass. Project consists of installation of a tight tank on map 49, parcel 162, on 11 Tucker Lane, Sutton, Mass. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw.
My name is Tim Callahan, I'm with Bob Consulting.
0902.
I thought that was the other one.
Was that the other one?
That was the other one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no, you don't have it on Tucker.
You don't have it on
Oh,
top.
sorry.
Do we have your resume on file?
I looked also and I didn't see
Resident.
Could you get us your resume
Yeah, sure.
so that we know you're qualified to?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think we
Um,
might have one.
And I assume you have a Board of Health application?
We have approval from the Board of Health.
Approval, okay. So it's issued, nothing from planning or appeal board. And your fees are paid. So it's all yours.
I don't usually need so because then you can see everything. Well, we have a very small lot on Tucker Pond, on Tucker Lane. It pre-exists the zoning regulations, so the house is very close to the road, within 10 feet. There's a well in the back of the yard, right in the middle of the yard, and it makes it unfeasible to put in a septic system. So we've applied for a tight tank and been approved by the Board of Health. So it's installation of a tight tank, the removal of the existing cesspool, which is failed and leaking, crushing the existing cesspool, filling it in, and installing the tight tank. No grading changes. And we propose wattles, 100% biodegradable.
Mr. McGovern just asked if there was a stamp.
Oh, the plans I submitted have the stamps.
Are these
I
different
just-
than the
I just-
plan you submitted?
No, it's the same.
Oh, okay.
So we probably need that plan in
No,
order
he
to
does, he
sign.
said
Got
it.
it.
Yeah, I got it.
Brandon, can we check? see
No,
if
I'd
there's a
rather look at
DEP
that
number?
one.
As
Yeah.
of,
If you don't mind, put that, just so they
You
don't.
can take that one?
if you don't mind, just,
No,
because we can't.
You can take these, I have the other two. These are yours.
He's down at.
Stone School Road.
No, the other
Lincoln
one.
Road,
Yeah,
Lincoln Road.
off of it. He did that
Yes.
road. You know, he's been around forever. I always like to see who the engineer
But the name's my
is. So
father.
who's this gentleman?
No,
Is he one of the engineers of record on?
Like to be able to
Lands
close it
Engineer?
out,
Is
but
he
we
Timothy
can't.
Callahan?
Yes, he is.
Okay, so he's a registered land
He's
surveyor.
checking it now, just to see if it came in the
Okay.
past few minutes.
Okay, we're looking for 11.
He's a, you know, that's a pretty good sign. He's good. Simple project.
They have no
All they wanna do
DEP.
is this pipe and that.
Yeah.
They
When you
got-
submitted it?
there's-
We sent it by mail maybe a month ago.
It's taking that long. You're not,
It's taking,
I see 6 weeks a lot, like
Yeah.
honestly.
It's
From what people are saying, if
taking
you really tracked it, you see they're about 6 weeks now.
Yeah, but it's not even on the DEP list. Am I missing it?
some of them, they haven't been put on, I noted that.
42 Bond Hollow has this on. but-
Yeah.
You know what I found? If the engineers call, they'll get it. Like honestly, you might wanna give them a call.
Okay.
I've
Sitting
seen it
on
make it.
somebody's desk.
So unfortunately, you will have to continue because we have no DEP number.
Okay.
Well, he's welcome to.
Could we
open
review?
it up.
Yeah, let's discuss it,
Yeah.
in case you want him to make revisions to it, and that way when he
Right.
comes, yeah.
I can give you my assessment. I've been to the site. You know, the cesspool is bubbling over down towards the wetlands, so anything you do here is gonna be an improvement. And a tight tank is gonna be, completely contained, theoretically, right? So, I'm guessing that you put it where it is because it's gonna be gravity fed and it's the same place where more or less the same place where the existing plumbing is.
Right.
is what I'm guessing.
And it's a high point of the line.
Right, because from a wetlands perspective, technically it would be better to try and put it in the front yard, but you'd have to completely change the plumbing, and I'm guessing there might even be a pump.
Well, there's only 10 feet from the front yard to the road.
Right.
We have to be 10 feet away from the foundation, so we'd be putting it in the road.
See, these are the answers we need,
Yeah.
so thank you. I'm good with it, just a matter of getting the DEP number. No changes in grade?
No.
So when would you like to continue to the next meeting?
Sure.
Which
Make a
would be-
motion to
Get on the
continue
phone
to
tomorrow.
August,
Seventh at 8 p.m.
Today's,
today's
Seven.
August
I mean,
21st at
21st, I'm sorry.
At what time?
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bet you didn't have your number.
Okay.
Give him a call, maybe bump it up to the top.
Wanda, this is the stamp, let's put this back.
Well, you can
Okay.
submit
Yeah.
online, or you can mail, and
Yeah.
it seems to me
I-
like.
Well,
They've been really, really
I don't
delayed.
think it matters.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
No, I think it's the squeaky up oil. Squeaky wheel gets
Okay.
greased.
I need
Yeah,
to,
right.
I need to
Yeah.
grease the wheel.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it a
You need the
little
unstamp back?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's too bad. A month ago.
Here's the next one.
All right, so that was 11 Tucker Lane. 7:35 at 352 Manchog Road.
Make a motion to waive the reading of 352 Manchug Road.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hello, Dan Hazen from Gary and Halnon. Since the last meeting, we've gone before ZBA, and ZBA has issued a special permit for use for the apartments.
Well, I
And
wanted to recuse myself, just because if I ever, I've talked about buying this project with the guy, and if I vote on it, then I can't even buy it for 2 years. I could potentially.
Wanda, Mike's recusing himself.
Which one?
352.
Okay.
Okay.
So, since the last meeting, ZBA approved a special permit last week. Monday night, planning board closed the hearing. We have a few minor i's to dot and t's to cross for Jen Hager, and we'll be bringing the Mylars to the next meeting. We've added a 6-foot-high fence within the 200-foot riverfront for keeping trash from blowing into the river. And other than that, we have a clear letter from Graves Engineering. They reviewed everything and issued, the only thing they want is, before occupancy, to drive a pipe through that to make sure it can make it around the building. So,
I think we were really looking for 8 around the immediate area of the dumpster.
yes, we have
Okay.
it's 8 foot around the dumpster and then 6 foot the rest of the
I
way.
can't, there's a contour line through it, I just can't, I couldn't see it.
Oh, okay.
That's perfect.
Any,
Thanks for doing that.
any
No
audience?
problem.
Brandon, anything?
No, that was the big comment last time, and that's great.
Joyce, anything on this one?
Well, I believe the last time the abutters were here and they had issues with a tree and water coming down into their yard in the driveway, so is any consideration being given to those?
The Fenaris, we're gonna speak to them about taking care of the tree, and as far as the water, we went out and looked, the catch basin's right in the front here. So any water that comes down the driveway would be caught in the catch basin right here on the side of the road before even, it shouldn't enter their property or go in front of it, so, it's wide open pavement all the way across the front, so.
I think it's an issue that they had during the winter. So is there anything different from now than before?
Since the last meeting, or what?
No, I
Well, we're
mean-
proposing berm, Cape Cod berm, to direct any water from going onto the property from the top here. So all this before would sheet flow across and down right into their
So there was no
property.
berm?
There's no berm there now currently. It's just pavement going straight up. So anything that would come down, there is a little bit of ground over the pavement, so when it would flow off, it would just sheet off onto their property. Now it'll be directed down towards that catch basin.
Bill, anything on this?
I'm good.
Nicole?
I'm good.
Anybody from the audience?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 352 Manjog Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good
Thank you
night.
very much.
Thank you.
Plan too.
Yeah, which,
This is it.
is it stamped?
August 5th, is that the most, that's it,
Is
yeah.
it stamped by the engineer though?
Yeah,
Okay.
sign the first one, not the third one.
First copy. Catching up, you know? You're doing all right, yeah.
I got a bunch of stuff here, I don't know what that is.
Great.
Is that new stuff?
Yep, good. All right, so next, we got a couple of minutes now, right?
Do the minutes.
Yeah. We can do a minute, sure.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of June 26, 2019 and July 17, 2019.
Second.
Yep.
Hold on, you're going.
Did you already sign yours? Just this one.
Wander, I made the motion on that. Joyce, I believe,
Teresa
second.
Mike seconded it. Take your pick.
Whoever you want.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we just got some plans to sign,
Yeah, I signed.
two sets here. This first one's 100 Arbstree Road. That one?
Do that way first and then we can
Okay. Here you go, Bill.
get to Wanda.
This next one is Sibley Dam.
No, you don't sign this one,
Yep.
right? And this is Sibley?
Yeah, that second one's the Sibley Dam.
The other copy of this final for 352.
Mike, that's 100 Arbstree. This one's Sibley Dam though. Oh, that's this one? 100 Arbstree Road. Septic
That's-
system.
Plans.
Yeah, I can sign this one, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I think you can do the Sibley Dam too. You were just recused on the.
On his personal
okay.
property, yeah, because the
all right.
dam is.
The dam's upstream, yeah.
I got my pen.
Fighting over a pen?
What's the actual time?
7:44.
Sorry, Jason, knocked you over.
Yeah, that's.
Might get involved.
Ratify.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got a minute. Do you want to ratify the emergency certificate for Woodburyville Pond? Do we know where that stands?
I don't.
The
I've
construction?
been wondering myself what's going on,
Yeah.
because I'm not, I thought I was clear on who was gonna be doing the work, but I keep on hearing different things.
That's why I put it in both their names, so.
Okay. But do we know who's taking responsibility?
I got an email just prior to getting here. If I had my fancy schmancy iPad, this would be easier.
No water left in the pond.
It was
I
last
got
week
this
after rain.
A little bit.
at
but-
4:48 from Pat Doherty. Hi, Matt. Thanks for dropping the Phase 1 report for Woodbury Pond Dam. Have you been in contact with Weston and Sampson to see if they have the design plans referenced in the report? So that sounds like,
I
Town.
didn't even know Weston Sampson was involved with this,
I think from years ago, the original plan.
the original, okay.
Yep.
Oh, then it's gotta go back a while.
I-
So, I mean, the thing is that we have a critical situation over there.
Right, I'm trying to rush people.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm doing my best.
I know you. We all know you.
All right, so,
So you wanna ratify
we
it?
want to ratify that, yeah.
You need a motion, right?
Yep.
Make a motion to ratify emergency certificate for Woodburyville Pond on Boston Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so this one goes. All right, 7:45. 128, 142 Armsby Road, and 7:46 is gonna be 141 Armsby Road. We could open them both up at the same time.
Make a motion to waive the reading of 128, 141, and 142 Armsby Road.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded that motion?
I did.
Good evening.
Brian Waterman, the Wetland Specialist from WDA Design Group, also intend to train Waterman and Pat Burke from our office. Same crews last meeting on July 20th.
Motley Crew.
Motley crew.
July 17th.
17th. So at the last meeting, there were several discussion items and items that we were looking to address in the field for a site walk. The first item would be the footbridge in the north end of the project. And Brandon had asked if we could stake out the center line and then we'll go take a look at it. So we went out and found an area where we wouldn't have to cut any shrubs or trees. We could do the footbridge on higher points and a narrow crossing over the stream. So we did that, we staked out the center line, and Brandon, Joyce, and I walked it last week. And we were all in agreement that, where we picked out, we had some high points. We'd be spanning over only herbaceous, generally skunk cabbage, a good spot to cross the stream here. And it ties in well with the open areas under the tree canopy to place the footpath. So looking at this area, Brandon and Joyce asked if we could walk the path back to the south, back towards Armsby. So we did that, which this part of the path follows this upland finger in here and this esker back here. So we walked along that, and it's very apparent that there's not a lot of understory. There are a lot of big trees, so it's very easy to weave this path through. And I think we're all in agreement that it's not going to take much to, maybe a few little areas where we might have to cut some slash or some deadwood, but other than that, it's very unobtrusive pathway.
We agreed to make that 4 feet wide, as you
Right.
had mentioned, and avoid any trees with 5 inches, something like that. So it should be very
The,
doable.
the path on our plans now has been adjusted to 4 foot width. The other area was this path coming out into the finger here where we had like a circle racetrack there, but after walking it, we said, let's soften that up around some of the trees, push it out to the point a little more. And then there was a Y junction here at the path. We've removed that, so it's a straight shot. I think I sent you some sketches earlier. Additionally, on this slope here, we were discussing moving it up the hill, so we moved that up as high as we could, right to the base of the retaining walls here. So it'll be tucked in against those. It's already gonna be graded, and it's pretty flat up there on that edge. The other area that was discussed, which was a big one, so we came out on the path here, walked down to the old Armsby Road. This is where the culvert has since been removed. And this westerly portion of the Armsby Road, old Armsby Road, has approximately 3 to 4 feet of fill with the old pavement above it. So Brandon and Joyce suggested, our plan before was to take off the pavement and the sub base on that, which would probably be the gravel. But it was discussed, could we take that all the way down and join the two wetland systems back together? So we looked at that, and we've graded this out now to remove that entire 3 to 4 feet of fill rejoin this two wetland systems. And then there'll still be a little mound here to maintain the bank that's in between the two systems for the stream channel that's been restored. And then we adjusted the planting plan. Before we had, this was riverfront restoration of upland riverfront. Now it will be restored wetland, which is still in the riverfront, but we join together. So this has been replanted and revegetated for wetland species instead of an upland buffer zone, upland riverfront area. And again, we show the footpath that we had before. Now, removing all this fill, we have to make the bridge longer. Again, it would be raised just on small posts in crushed stone. The next area we reviewed was to the south. The area for the proposed gardens and bocce court. And I think as I outlined in the last meeting, it's overgrown, but there's an old haul road in here. This looks like an area where they removed gravel historically, and it's very flat. There's some small pine trees now colonizing it. So we walked out to that area. Again, this path used to be 5 feet. We've reduced it to 4, slid it a bit to the west and southwest. And as we discussed in the field, we added a split rail fence along the edge just to give another boundary. It'll be a nice viewing area along the stream, and it kind of maintains this hillside with the bocce court and gardens in a nice flat location in that area. And that covers the items that were requested for field review at the last meeting. One of the other key items was Brandon had requested an expanded detailed riverfront analysis based on all 310 CMR 1058. We prepared that and submitted that to Brandon last week, I believe. So I think we addressed those concerns. DEP yesterday issued 2 file numbers, I believe 904 and 905.
Yeah, we have them here.
Which one's
Okay.
which?
904 is for
128
128.
and
Right.
142, which is the south side of Orange.
The south side, right.
904 is 128 and 142.
That was issued by Megan Selby of DEP. On the north side, she had some questions about the riverfront mitigation and disturbed areas. Some of the areas we had already outlined in our initial cover letter, but I sent her a copy of that detailed riverfront analysis, which addresses the rest of it. So that should take care of that. There are a couple of questions on the detention basins and stormwater, and I'll let Pat Burke address that. But part of that was covered in the reply to Gray's Engineering's planning board review. So that addressed a lot of these concerns that DEP brought up, and they were already really taken care of, like moving a basin 50 feet from the wetland or our separation of groundwater. So some of those were already, I think she just kind of went through a bullet point check, and some of those are already addressed. But I don't know if you had any questions on
The DEP, I have them up on the board, right from the website. They had a long comment. Have you seen that?
That says 127 RSP road. Oh, okay, that's Compton, that's us.
Right.
And it says 141, then it says 127.
But 141 hours, but it says, there appears to be work proposed on 127 Arsby Road.
What's 127, do you know what that is?
I'll find it, hold on a second.
That's a good question.
That would be the west side.
Well, Brandon's looking that up. Just a question about that
Sure.
culvert issue. Are
The
you,
one that was been removed?
it's been removed.
DPW removed it.
They did it, okay.
Yes.
All right.
We had
That's
offered
a
and-
super sensitive area, and Glenn has
Yes.
poured his heart and soul into that, so I just
Yeah.
want you
We've been
to,
coordinating a little.
all right,
bit
I just want you to keep mindful of
Right,
that.
yeah. And the plantings that I've proposed there take into account maintaining that bank and that open channel. I know you still have some work just on the downstream side, some of the gravel or something. there that
Yes,
you're working
that's the
at, so-
cemetery.
And the only other thing on the plan, I'd like to see a volleyball court, a tiki bar next to the bocce, but, you know.
There's the
If
guy.
it's not feasible, but I don't, you know.
That sounds like a pretty good plan.
There's a beautiful stone where they took that culvert out that has been there.
The blocks
The
that
bl-
are.
oh, it's
Yeah, the
magnificent.
waterfall, it's
Yeah.
gorgeous, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I'd like to leave all that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that would be maintained.
I only had two questions. There was, where the culvert was taken out, at the inflow of the culvert, that elevation of the bottom of the brook, obviously it drops down to the lower elevation after cascades over those rocks
Right.
that were placed. So there's, on your plan, you probably know that, or you might be able to tell me, there's maybe a 2.5 to 3 foot drop.
Right.
So if you take the roadway out, the western portion of the roadway, and you combine the wetland that's being held together by the elevation, this would be to the western wetland between the two
Right.
roads, but the wetland to the north of that, north of the road that you're taking out, it should be a little bit lower in elevation because there is that 2.5 to 3 foot drop out of the culvert, so.
Right, that's why we graded it to leave a mound on that end to maintain the bank between and tie down, so. And then we take out the rest of the fill behind it.
My only concern is to make sure that we don't lose the brook to go westward, to go down, because you're grading that down enough to combine the two wetlands, because that wetland was created, the one between the two roads, in my estimation, by building up the roadway to place the culvert, and that's why there's a 2.5 to 3 foot drop out of that culvert. If the wetland on the south side of the culvert that was taken out was the same elevation as the wetland on the north side, then if we took the road out, the two wetlands would still be the same elevation, but the wetland on the south side of the road should be a little bit higher, only because it's a 2.5 to 3 foot drop out of the culvert down those cascades. I'm just concerned, making sure that we understand the elevation of the wetland between the two roads as it relates to the wetland on the northern side of the
Right, the
road that's being
elevations,
taken out.
the
So
elevations on this
Finger?
finger
Wetland?
on the Armsby side.
Yes.
And the elevation at the wetland on this side is within like 4/10 of each other, like
Okay.
that much.
If
And
I-
then, so what we've done is graded so that this mound, like you said, because that drops off,
Yes.
maintain a mound there, so you still have your bank like it's graded now.
It's a bank, yeah.
And then back, this would come back and go down to about elevation 407.5.
You have the elevations as long as you're
Yeah.
comfortable. I just want to ensure that once we take this out, we don't have water going this way and then out, because to me, if this is lower than this, and you're telling me.
It's gonna
Right.
take that path, yeah, no.
Right now, this water is staying in this
Yes.
channel, and we're not making this lower than this wetland. So there's a flow.
Okay, as
that
long as
goes
you don't
like
make this lower than the
No, I
wetland. I
understand,
still
I
think there might be a
right.
lip then, only because this wetland
Yeah,
is
he's
lower
put,
than
he's
this
put two spot
wetland.
shots
Right.
in there.
I put it to keep
407.5.
it about a half a foot.
You've already looked
Yeah.
at it, I'm all set. Thank you for.
That way,
Thank you.
we're intercepting the hydrology without reconfiguring that.
You want the
That's
brook
not-
to stay where it is.
Right.
Well, 100%, and also
Right.
not drain the wetland between the two
Right.
roads, if
Yeah.
there was a
Yeah.
case of that.
Perfect.
And the other thing was, I'm sure you probably 1 inch in 24 hours on your stormwater.
Yes.
And that the last letter that went from Fish and Wildlife, Richard Hartley, on what to do there was one letter that came in with Michael Bryan's, private, it was Leclerc's project that he submitted a letter. This is Richard Hartley, and who's now sick and maybe not even with Fish and Wildlife, but it was about keeping the water cold, leaving your basin, because obviously critical area 72 upper lethal. Was there any consideration when we, I don't wanna bring other projects, but Lincoln Plaza, when we brought that into Coal Mine Brook, we made sure that the
Well,
water
we
was
don't have
also leaving
water.
cold.
We don't have-
The detention structures.
Well, our detention structure is on the other side
Okay.
here.
Okay.
We don't have a detention structure there.
I'm all set. I had asked for the plans ahead of time. I know I didn't see them. I know you guys weren't probably ready for them. I just wanted to make sure that the water coming out of the detention structures is not running out warm, or getting to the brook
Yeah,
warm,
we-
because we just talked to Matt Stencil over this, when he's removing the beaver dam at Almsbury Road. There was, I don't like superlatives, but there was a tremendous flush going down the brook. We took photos, and it actually scoured, which we were happy for, to see the last of the sands in the brook going down behind the chiropractor place. Now that's in a defined channel with a gravel bottom, instead of, we lost, you can go there and see about 8 inches of silt that it cut down into.
Yeah.
The point is, hot water in the summertime flushed out of that pond, and we're asking Matt, and I just mentioned briefly to Randy, that we put a beaver flow device in Almsbury Road. And Matt said that he had talked and apparently worked with the Watermans here, and
Yeah,
and then maybe
line
there'd be a
that
case to
pipe.
put a beaver floater base into the pond, so that no longer do we have to have the DPW removing that clog out of the culvert all the time. But so the last point is, he's gonna sleeve the culvert, and because the pond is deep enough, a floater vise is gonna be sitting off the pond bottom, maybe 4 feet or 5 feet. The beaver can't get the mud up there to keep it in the device, and that then is a
Perfect.
permanent solution. We will be
Beaver
hearing
deceiver.
about that, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
like Mo said, if there's no hot water going into the brook, sorry, thank you.
Excellent. Brandon?
Questions I think don't think came up last time, but much of this property is within the Zone 2 area of Wilkinsonville Water District, correct? So this goes back to really the Gray's engineering review. First of all, how's that going?
Good, we've gotten 2 review letters. The first one we had already completely responded to, and the second one, Pat has actually changed. They had some questions on that same drainage near the bocce courts, right across from that brook.
I presume it's Jeff Walsh?
Yes.
All right,
Yep.
so he's usually on top of this, but
Yeah.
when you're in the Zone 2, you have to treat for the first full inch of runoff in the first 24 hours instead of half inch. I presume you're doing that?
Yes, we did that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. We'll leave the rest to Jeff.
Yeah, we have copies of those plans and the drainage report I think you had asked for last time, the stormwater report, just so we could leave those, that way you have those as well here.
He gave that to Lon.
He's got them right.
He's got them there.
Yeah, please, I appreciate those. They've done everything I've asked for.
Okay.
And as far as, I'm really happy to see that they are proposing the full restoration of that historic
Yep.
road and connecting the 2 wetlands on either side. There are 1 or 2 big trees that are gonna be coming down, they're growing on the historic fill
Yeah.
of the road. So that's, gives you an idea of how old that roadway is. But I think that the long-term environmental benefit will far outweigh the loss of those trees, and in 40, 50 years from now, there'll be new big trees.
Right, and we're
So-
putting more trees back in, and there are a couple of, the smaller 6-inch diameter maples that are kind of towards the base. If we can at all work around and save those, that would be the goal, but we are, replanting it heavily, so.
Yeah, that biggest tree that's right down near the brook, that's no good.
Yeah, and it's coming out of the fill, like Brandon.
All right.
One of the special conditions, sorry, Glenn. One of the special conditions is to include the long-term O&M plan as a addendum, as a special condition.
Okay.
So it'll eventually become a in perpetuity condition.
Perpetuity, yeah.
We're running a little short on time, so I'm just gonna run through the board members. Joyce?
I'd like to commend Mr. Waterman because I had a nice walk with him last week, and any suggestions
sandals.
we had, I still have scratches, but,
You're a trooper.
yeah. He came up with some good ideas and took our suggestions. There was a kind of a trail there anyway, and so they
Bear
moved it
trail.
up the hill to that. And actually, we saw where a bear had clawed a tree.
Yeah, we found a tree with
But came up with good suggestions about the fence rail and talking about putting bird houses and bat houses and so forth. So I think they've done a good job, and it's very pretty down there.
Mike, you got anything on this one?
Maintenance plans for when the project was done?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Maintenance plans for when the project's done?
Yep, they're included in the stormwater report.
And that's all been reviewed and everybody was good with it?
Well, his planning board isn't quite done yet. right?
That's correct.
So, it's commission's call right now. How many more meetings do we have?
The 19th, they've continued, we were there Monday night, they approved the earthworks part of it, they've already approved one of the 2 special permits. So I think they will close on the 19th.
How do we, phase this project? This is a big project. How are we phasing it?
Most likely it'll be the north side first, because that's where the sewer and water would be connected. So it would be the north side, I believe, first, and then work to the south side after that.
So we'll have multiple get-started meetings. How do we know as a board? Because we don't like to go in people's backyards. But this is a big project, with a very sensitive stream. So what ongoing things to just make sure that we know that all your silt fences, because this is a big project with a lot of impact. We'll have multiple site visits with Brandon scheduled throughout the project. Brandon, is that typical on a bigger commercial project, should we have
It
that
is,
as?
however you wanna condition it, we.
I would
we
feel
at
better if
least
there was
do-
some kind of something every 3 to 6 months. I don't know what
Well-
would you think is,
If there are different phases with different contractors, generally have a pre-construction meeting anytime a new contractor gets involved. So it's not just one and done. We've learned that lesson the hard way in the past, because sometimes one contractor does not know. The first contractor that we had the meeting with, who everything's clear with, gets done, and then the second contractor didn't know, and then everything changes.
so I think that if there's periodic inspections, when it comes time for certificate of compliance, and somebody could say to us, like Graves Engineering with Planning Board, just says, hey, we've been out to the site, we did periodic inspections. So, I mean, how long do you think this project's gonna take? Like, how many years, like, what are we
4
looking at?
years.
4-year project?
That's a good point. I'm
So
glad
if
you
we
brought it
would've-
up. Because you can, for particularly long, complicated projects, the commission can create an order of condition to go up to 5 years instead of the usual 3. It's
I would
been
be
done
okay with
before,
that.
I think
Yeah,
most
I'd be fine with that.
recently.
Especially
with
if
the
there's
National
monitoring
Grid
going
project.
on throughout
Can we
the
word it with the
project.
annual inspections or something of
Of
that
course you
nature?
can.
Okay.
You can.
So would we
Condition
would
it
expect
however
at
you
least
want.
twice a year, there's some kind of a report from Brandon that he's been out for a site visit, and that, you know, you can schedule it with him at your
I do site
convenience.
visits as well on our behalf, and then.
Well, if
Brandon
it, like a
and I
construct,
talked
so if
about-
you, go ahead, Brandon.
Well, this is also gonna require a construction general permit. NIPD's construction general permit, so there are going to be regular stormwater inspections after certain rainfall events. I don't know who's gonna be doing that, but.
Well, through the EPA NIPD's permit, yeah.
Right, so-
The contractor is also, you know, whoever is designated has to do daily inspections after every quarter-inch of rainfall.
It's happening now.
I know.
Right, so.
We can't have a meeting here without thunderstorms, I don't know what it is.
They have a sheet that they have to fill out, and there's usually a corrective action log.
So if you include your site visit reports that you'd give to Graves Engineering, that you can just state about subvent conditions. So if you make some notes as you do your inspections that help with the things that we're responsible for, it'll be the less Brandon has to go. Cause if there's some track record of somebody saying, hey, on these dates, we made sure the fences were in.
Yeah, the
I just,
contractor
it'll
has to
assure us we
keep-
don't have problems with this project. That's all,
It could
that's all.
reduce, you know, my number of inspections significantly. If there's anything like big that goes wrong, because if there's a corrective action log that I see that is particularly egregious, I might want to take a visit.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna get bad shortly. All right. You all set, Mike?
I'm all set.
Okay. Bill?
It's a great plan, very
Yep.
good job.
Thank you.
Good work.
Nicole?
No questions.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful plan.
I was just gonna expand on the order of conditions. Should we go 4 and then if it's done, then go for the COC? If not, we could ask for a 1-year extension. Or would you rather feel more comfortable, Brandon, going to the 5 initially?
That's their call.
Okay.
If you're,
Just so it's a big project, it's not, I would rather they come back and ask for an extension, just,
Okay.
everybody means well, if something goes wrong, it's not gonna hurt, it's one meeting, we're not,
No, and the 4
and if
years
everything's
gives
going
us-
well, it'll be a short meeting, if it's
Right.
not, and the project hasn't gone well, and we have some things to, it
But
would
instead
be a,
of, you know, if
it
it's
would-
gonna take
we could
4,
strong
instead
arm
of-
you.
Right, exactly.
Okay?
Right.
I would suggest the 4, and then if it's done, we go for the COC if everything's
Okay.
done. If not, and you
So-
still have 3 months, then you do.
sounds good. Glenn?
The one last thing, there is an erosion problem that's coming down from the western end of Almsbury existing, and then it hooks over to in front of the cemetery, and then it ran down the old Almsbury, and that's what caused that erosion gully. And so I talked to Matt, and originally I looked at it, and the sand on the road, the old Almsbury, that's in front of the cemetery going
where
down.
bends there around the-
That bend, and so what I had Matt do is take the sand out of there, so it would go into the woods instead of going down the old road, and then dumping hot water directly into the brook. So just be aware that there is a flow issue when it's coming from west to east on Almsbury. That water, some of the water goes down and eroded a gully into the pond. You didn't hear about that, but Matt took it out and then fixed that by dumping the water into the woods instead of flowing down, all the way down the road into the pond. But the other flow path was, again, on this old Almsbury. So be aware that there is a good flow coming down from west to east onto the old Almsbury.
Yeah.
And that's where, during the biggest storm events, you'll be addressing and ensuring that you don't,
Right, we
blow
may
out
have to
your
add
silt
some
fence.
extra
just
check
so-
dams or things.
You know, that,
The
Yeah,
missing
right,
address.
right at the cemetery where the retaining wall is, the stone retaining
Yeah.
wall. The
Oh,
grade
yeah.
right now pitches into the
Brandon, did you
cemetery, and we're
did you
raising
figure
it
out
a
about
little
what they
bit,
meant
so
by
it's only
127
some
arm
distance,
speed?
It'll actually
Yeah, it's
push
a
it
good
into the
point.
center.
I'll show you.
As long as we don't.
Yep,
Quickly,
we
though.
don't know where the water's flowing,
that's the cemetery, yes.
The
We are-
cemetery, so
yeah,
the
it's-
road,
We're going right through the cemetery road.
It was coming down, so some of it went down and we put it into the woods instead of blowing out it, there's an erosion gully here, the rest of the water went down, followed the road, blew
Yep.
out that culvert, that's what
Yep.
made the hole, so Matt, we took the sand out here, we let the water go in there, and then also this way, instead of following the roadway down.
Okay.
So, no, there's a lot of flow during heavy rain,
Should we
it's
add the
coming from
address?
up here.
Okay. If there's work being performed, we need to add that address, correct?
right, so, Adam, if you just look at these lines, which are not perfect, and tax assessor's office will tell you that. It
Yep.
looks like the road might at least partially be on 127.
Okay.
It is, yes, there's an
Yeah.
easement
So-
for this property.
Right, so DEP makes the point that if you're working on someone else's property, you have to get there, they have to be part of the application.
Okay,
So is that town of Sutton 127?
yes,
Okay.
Cemetery.
Right, so they're gonna have to be a co-signer.
okay. Okay, we have an application in front of the Board of Selectmen right now, they may have even signed it, I'm not sure, as far as, you know, this property has rights through that, it's only physical access to get there now. Since our-
But being a different, physically different property, or a different, field card,
Yeah,
you'd have to get, an application, at least a signature page with someone's signature from the town.
okay.
And then you forward that to Wanda, but also a copy to DEP. And, that's, it does sound like, it sounds like everybody's in support of it anyway,
Right.
so.
Yeah, that should be easy.
So, just really quick, I wanna make sure that we, hit some of the greatest hits here by our new, DEP analyst, who's very, very astute.
Fresh out of college.
You know, we talked about the graded riverfront area, and I believe you addressed that in your narrative. Did you send them a copy?
Yes, I sent Megan.
Okay, so that should
She has
cover-
not gotten back to me on any.
I doubt she will.
I don't think she will. And I told her you and the commission were doing a review on it.
Right. So any clearing of vegetation within the riverfront area for the crossing has to be accounted for. And just make sure, any numbers that you have on the disturbance section are all updated, and let me know, because I have to write it all down in the order.
It's updated in that detailed analysis I just gave you.
Okay. I might still get in touch with you.
No, that's fine, yeah, call me. Yeah, that, because I had miscounted on one of the things, so I updated in that.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
And there is no
There's
clearing
another-
of the vegetation for the footbridge, right?
No,
Says
Could I
no-
make it-
and we're above the median high water.
Other than posts, obviously, no trees, no.
Well, because you're physically going over it,
Yeah,
and you're potentially shading, because we
Right.
talked about, we want it to be high enough
Yeah.
and the slats wide enough, so it doesn't join any
And we've
vegetation.
added that on the detail for the, added the slat width.
And we have a cross-section of
to 55 and older?
Yeah, as you requested.
But I might say that when I just did a 1,000-foot boardwalk, they made me account for the sonotubes in the wetlands and square footage alterations. So be aware of that, if you didn't count for the sonotubes, you do have to, that small square footage, I had to do 20 square feet for this. When it all amounted up, we're a
Yep.
foot and a half, so if you didn't, I'm just making a
Yep.
point that there are
Yeah,
much
we have
of for the
experts.
sonotubes.
Okay. Trying to stay away from some.
They also want, this also looks like they want some, test hole data, on stormwater facilities. Have you done?
We do have test pits and borings we can provide to them, generally throughout the site in some general area of the infiltration basins.
that was actually reviewed by Graves and observed actually probably 10 years ago by Jeff.
So we're all set with
So
that.
we have that to forward to them, yes.
Okay, then I'm just gonna be.
And we're well above the groundwater table on our analysis.
Very good.
Good, Brennan?
All set.
Make a
on the
motion
floor.
to close the public hearing.
Wait a minute. Is this going to make a problem with this 127 if we close the public hearing and then you have to reapply to have that?
If the town does not agree,
I was gonna
So-
suggest they add 127 separately, one form later. to follow everything of 128, 142, and 141.
I think the opposite. I think they should add it now, and if the town doesn't want to sign off on it, then they're gonna have to refile.
Well, that's why sometimes you might not wanna close too soon,
You
because
still have
then they'll
planning
have to
board
refile.
and-
On the 19th.
Should we continue one more meeting just to make sure? Well, it's in your best
Well,
interest.
you're gonna be going back to the 19th, the next meeting here is the 21st, so you have to wait 48 hours.
And I don't think we'd have to attend if you get the signature and submit it.
Yeah, you don't
Just
have
be
to
an
attend.
administrative,
Okay, yeah.
Right.
so I'd say keep
Right.
it open to the 21st.
I think that's
Submit the
most prudent.
rate, and then it'd be an administrative thing, just to
Okay,
close it.
it's fine.
Make a motion to continue 128 and 142, as well as 141 Osby Road to August 21st at 8:20? Is that right?
8:20 and 8:21.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
8:10 and 8:11, so we can do it all at once.
Yeah.
8:10 and 8:11, all right.
I need a second on that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you
Excellent.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, we have an art,
Is there a golf cart path, or are we riding up the road to get to PV?
that's a, you should
We're gonna have to
talk,
drink and drive?
yeah,
You live there?
yeah, you should talk to PV and see if you can add a golf cart. That'd be a perfect.
Make a motion to continue 125 Singletary Ave to August 21st at 7:40.
I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Mr. Maron, you're next. You can come on up.
This is Jamie's personal property.
Wait a minute, Nicole, were you here on all of those that you could vote on that? I just wanna make it clear for Wanda so she gets the count right.
Yeah, all the ones that I was allowed to vote on, I have.
The ones we just did
Is
on
that a
Armsby.
3? So would it be a 3 instead of a 4? Or a
No,
5?
it
We
would
did-
be,
We didn't
I
vote
thought-
on
1, 2,
Osby
3.
anyway.
We didn't vote on Armsby.
yeah,
That's
All we did was
continued.
continue it.
it's continued, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot that.
So it's
This
still
is
a
for Jamie's
5.
personal property.
This is
Yes.
80. Is this your personal property? Yeah. Mike McGovern recuses himself on this one.
Okay, on 125, you already continued that, right?
Yeah.
As long as the AC keeps working, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
If the
Don't jinx us.
generator
If it shuts
comes on,
off, we're
it'll
gonna-
shut down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
We're gonna
everything-
kibosh it.
everything
We're outta
will
here.
shut down. Okay, so we're at 3, right? Did I just give you 8? No.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna read this in. This is 80 Burbank Road at 8:05. The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 7th, 2019 at 8:05 p.m. at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a request for determination of applicability submitted to the Conservation Commission by James Maron, Sutton, Mass. The project consists of work in the farm pond used for irrigation and watering of livestock on map 10, parcels 55 on 80 Burbank Road, Sutton, Mass. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Fees are paid. I think we're good on that stuff. There's no other applications with any other boards for any work, right? Okay?
Well, I guess last time we met, no modifications have been made to the plan. The plan is to do a maintenance dredge of the pond and add a sediment detention facility from the breach dam upstream to as it reestablishes the riverbed to keep that from, and in storm events, to keep that from coming into the pond, and that's basically it. We'll dredge to original bounds and depths. Brandon, pre-construction, or whoever would come out, would make sure that all the sediment detention, necessary sediment silt fencing and wattles, 100% biodegradable wattles are in place.
Oh, silt fence, good choice.
Probably do belt and suspenders, right? If it's a primary and secondary.
That is a good one.
I just don't want any issues,
Yeah,
right?
I get
And
you.
I'm just so excited about the project, and it's really gonna have a huge aesthetic impact on the farm and return it to, you know, it's part of the process of peeling back 100 years of neglect. It's well, not that many, but
Close.
close, yeah.
We did have one complaint on this property, right?
Yes, we did have a complaint mentioned of just manure or any other fill being put near the wetlands, so we're just gonna make sure that
The manure pile, the manure that was there, it's a seasonal pile for when the sheep are in the barn, it's been removed.
Okay.
It was removed a while ago, prior to when they have their babies is the only time I have a manure issue, which is about an 8-week period. And prior to that, maybe when you come out to do your site visit, the problem is the farm is in the middle of a wetland, so to find a place for the location of it's it's maybe 5 to 7 yards of manure over the course of the season. But maybe when you guys come to a site inspection, you could kind of help me identify a suitable place to put that.
And just for the record, because I don't believe in anonymous complaints, that was Bob Teft. So,
Okay, no
all right.
problem.
Brandon?
Were you thinking about doing anything besides the maintenance stretch?
The construction of a sediment retention pond upstream.
But we already walked that area.
Yeah, no, just the necessary clearing of vegetation to facilitate construction.
Okay.
Okay. Joyce?
I'm with it.
Bill?
great.
Mike? Mike's not. Mike's missing. Where's Waldo? Nicole?
I'm good with it.
All right, I have nothing on it.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to issue a negative determination for 80 Burbank Road.
Negative is good, right?
Negative is good.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Thank you very, very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the effort. Enjoy.
Have a great night.
All right. Whenever you're caught up, Wanda, it's gonna be Glenn. You're up.
Do we have to sign that?
Oh, yeah, we have to sign that. That's right. Nicole was here for the last June meeting as well, right? Yeah.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, couldn't vote until July.
July 1st.
Because there was already an alternate.
Oh, I get you. That makes sense.
Glenn, what do you think of that pond that just got breached and drained and?
What I do, I would, if it was me.
Did you get my email? I sent you an email as soon as I heard about it.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
Maybe it went into spam or something.
Yeah, probably.
Uh,
Is that
we-
Because,
We told him about it last
You
Thursday.
did, but the issue would be is that the best trout fishery portion of the brook at this one point is below that pond, so that hot water probably raised the bugger with the trout that are in there, because that would have been warm water in the summer. There are a couple of springs coming in which would have allowed some trout to
Oh, you
survive
can't-
if the
can't
water
sign
was
it.
above 72, but that would have been the issue with that.
So that wasn't a good thing at all for
Not
that?
for the trout,
Okay.
no.
Would they survive it? Would it be a?
Well, normally the water coming off the top of a pond in the summer is 82. Just generally, you can put a thermometer in beaver dams, ponds, surfaces, generally with the mixing, 82. That's 72 is up a leaf.
I gotta open up this next one.
Okay.
All right, and this one is for 200 Worcester Providence Turnpike. The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 7th at 8:15 p.m. at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a request for determination of applicability submitted to the Conservation Commission by Glenn Kravowski of EBT Environmental Consultants, Inc., Oxford, Mass. The project consists of creating eastern brook trout accessibility by lowering a portion of the dam 1 foot 3 inches, constructing a cofferdam out of plywood, held in by wooden stakes sealed with polyethylene, insulated pipe on map 18 parcels 80 on 200 Worcester Providence Turnpike, Sutton, Mass. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Okay.
Thank you, Conservation Commission. We did discuss with Megan Selby, Judy Schmidt in this case, issued a comment on the RDA. And there was some question, she thought we were working in the riverfront area with equipment over between the pond, and the 146, and I explained that, no, this is handwork, and we don't need equipment over there. We gave you a detail. There is a detail in your package of the work that's to take place, a small cofferdam made out of plywood, 23 over 32 is the dimensions of it. and it comes out 1 foot off of the, I don't know, Brandon, I don't know if you had.
I have a package here that Juan put together for me, but it doesn't seem to have that page.
Well, it's actually within the RDA itself, so it's an exhibit in the RDA. It's only a ledger size, and it shows the copy, and I had an engineer, which is existing grades, take the LaPrade surveying plan, show the, because it's engineering and it's not surveying, to show any proposed structure, so we show the structure in front of the dam, on what the coffer dam would look like, the plywood coming out from the steel out and across, and that would create a void. We'd be able to pump the water out of that. That would allow us to steel cut the 20 feet across the property dam by putting a staging right, just the staging would sit in below the dam, we would then steel cut with a blowtorch, be 4 feet wide, 1 foot 3 inch deep, half moon, so that the 2 foot 6 inch drop, which is the last electroshocking data from Fish and Wildlife in 13 showed that there was no trout above the pond, but they did have trout below the dam that just breached. We, and I explained this before, that we did have trout when Mark Briggs, I believe it is, your former chairman, when we were looking at LeClaire, we had offspring trout down adjacent to what Michael O'Brien's project is now. So we don't see any reason why those trout aren't still there. There's nothing, there have been beavers in that portion of the brook above the pond and below 146. Normally, sometimes those do kick out trout, but they had been in there for years. There's enough cold water coming in that the trout were surviving and reproducing, because what we found was small offspring that came from the small brook that flowed from the Sportsman Club. The lower portion of that brook, just before it gets into the main stem, had offspring in the spring. So we felt still that there's trout below there, and those are the trout that are gonna access upstream. Fish and Wildlife did express that they were concerned with stocking any trout, stock trout in the brook to try to jumpstart the fishery above 146, because if you read the data, for 100 years of stock trout, so in other words, you get stock trout 100 years ago, you keep reproducing, it creates a genetic strain that's not native, they're weaker, they don't want to see you try to jumpstart a trout brook, because I had applied for a permit to stock above 146 last year. Went to Boston sent it to Westboro said no. So the point is, we're working to get the trout that are just below 146 up, but also Fish and Wildlife did state that this is to Adam Kotza, who's the cold-water fishery field guy out of Westboro, that they were inclined to be more likely to take trout out of the lower part of the brook that just got flushed with the pond and bring them up to stock above before they would ever think about putting stock trout in there because of the genetic strain. So what we're working to do here is get a connection that isn't there now. The 2 foot 6 inch drop, I've explained this before, is just a little bit too much for the trout to jump. We have them jumping 2 foot 3 inch, 2 foot 3 inch up in Westminster, and they've only made it up once in 10 years above that, crossing at the MBTA freight terminal in Westminster, where that is. So the point, the 2.6 is too much. We did have some comment by Mr. Phil Patel about a week ago. He said that somebody was catching trout or saw trout in the pond. I met the kid that said that he saw the trout. No, they're right over here. So I walked over there with him, and they were white sucker and shiner, and it was in the pond, in the inflow to the pond, and it's in the Pleasant Valley flow coming in the stream proper, Cospin proper. And the problem with that brook, when I've walked it a couple of times over the years, it's too hot coming out of the ponds at Pleasant Valley. So you have ponds upon ponds, and I can say that the same thing is occurring, which I'm working on. I'll be there tomorrow. Poor Farm Brook in Worcester coming out of Worcester Country Club. So when you have any kind of significant ponds, when you have such a minimum flow in the summer, and you've got warm water coming over into it, there's not enough groundwater coming in to compensate that 82 coming off, and that's what kicks your trout fishery out. So ponds aren't a great thing, and the only reason why there's some trout down below the pond that just breached is there's a significant amount of groundwater discharge coming in, and there's actually stream flowing in little dinky creeks that have these guys in it that aren't in the main stem. So there's always a refuge, and we'll talk about that some other time up there, because there's some work that could be done up
Brandon,
there.
this seems pretty black and white to me.
No comments.
No comments. Joyce?
I think it's good.
Mike?
Excellent.
Bill?
Perfect.
Nicole?
Good.
Have a motion?
Make a motion to issue a negative determination for 200 Worcester Providence Turnpike.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good to
We'll
go.
work.
We'll get that done this summer, thank you.
Oh, we didn't close the.
Make a motion to close the public hearing for 200 Worcester Providence Turnpike.
Oh,
Second.
go to the,
All those in favor,
Aye.
public, does anybody from the public have any comment before we close it? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you again, very much.
thank you. All right,
You can sign it.
I am just saying.
what's that? Absolutely not. That signature I worked on for 30, how the heck old am I?
Yeah, but
Mine's-
nobody can read it.
You
Mine's
don't have
different
to.
every time.
quick question.
That's why it's a signature.
Did anyone recuse themselves for the Mulderry property?
Which, what was,
Address.
329 West Sutton?
Yeah.
Who was it that recused?
329.
Mike
No,
or Andy?
Andy from 11 Tucker.
Yeah, I was off 11 Tucker.
You weren't off for that one. Okay, so it was 5-0 vote. Thank you.
He stepped down.
And I'm up and down now.
All right, Joyce recuses herself for this?
You have to read it, this from Wanda?
Okay, here's one of the original plans that came with
Okay.
that.
All right, next up is,
sorry, I missed you, yes.
next up is 42 Bond Hollow Road.
There you go.
The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 7th, 2019 at 8:25 PM at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted to the Sutton Conservation Commission by Timothy Fisher, Upton, Mass. The project consists of completing to fix and revise site work for a single-family home on map 23, parcels 105 on 42 Bond Hollow Road, Sutton, Mass. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Welcome.
Good evening, I'm Raouf Mankarius with Alpha Omega Engineering, and I have the client with me. You remember last time we had that's an existing condition, his order of conditions expired, and now we are applying for the remaining work to be done. There are some issues with the runoff coming from the driveway directly to the street, and also runoff coming from the basin directly to the road also. We discussed different issues, different options for fixing these issues. One of them is extending the basin itself and with a small swale to get the runoff from the driveway, and also tilting the pavement, the final coat of the pavement, so we can get more runoff from this area. The other one, we are proposing like a berm and also adding stone, so we can force the runoff to go directly to the wetland instead of running toward the street itself.
Not to cut you off, Ralph, but I missed, did you turn in the abutters notifications?
Yes.
Okay, so those are done. We have that. Okay, and is there any other boards involved in this particular filing? Okay, sorry. Didn't mean to-
The septic was revised to be a smaller system. It was already approved, and it expired, but expired with the conservation only.
Mhm.
We're showing the location of the septic in the second floor. All the work will be within the open area, the existing grass area.
Mhm.
That's all what we're proposing currently. Everything else on the property is done. The pavement will be gravel, and this will be paved once we get the approval.
Okay.
That's
All right, Brandon.
Honestly, to be honest, this is the first time I've had an ability to look at it.
Did we not have it 2 weeks in advance?
I don't even know. July 22 received, okay.
Okay, so we've had it, okay.
the other thing we
But we
add,
pretty much know what the issues are here.
Right.
To begin with.
and we added the drainage diverter also.
So I don't want that to be a delay.
Okay.
So, basically go over the greatest hits, right? The issue with the pipe down near, Pond Hollow Road.
Mhm.
All right.
Yep.
What's up with that?
So we added the stone riprap, we extended the open area so we can have the runoff coming, and we also added a drainage diverter to force most of the runoff. And instead of going toward the street, we'll be going toward the basin itself.
Okay.
And the pipe actually it's already clean and it has a wrap around it, so it should be working fine right now. There were some issues with some sediment going in the pipe, and it was cleaned.
Drainage diverter,
So there will be a very small section still draining to the road, but I mean, how many square feet is that?
detail, drainage diverter,
It's about
permanent paved drainage
So do you
diverter.
expect
Okay,
the
so it's a
amount
bit-
of runoff
He's
going
gonna
on
repave
our
on the
road?
driveway.
Put a speed bump in.
So that after this,
Significantly,
if it goes
or-
over
It should be
570, so they need to change the grading here, cause you're lower here than here. The water's still gonna shoot this way.
Okay.
So I think this
Propose
grading in
putting
here
8
that needs
inches
to be
of,
better.
8-inch minimum
Should be
diameter
fine.
stone
Yes.
at the end of the live
That'll
swell?
fix that, right?
Yes.
Make sure
How
he
you gonna get
knows,
down
cause remember he had put some
Has to
netted
be,
water with no silt fence
Yep.
over here and asked if that was okay, and it's not,
Those
cause
Yeah.
up
this is
in
really steep in this
trees
wetlands right
and-
here.
It's gonna have
Yeah,
to have
just
a-
on the
Not
lower
much
side, right?
trees, there's no.
Yeah, I'm
it's
fine
more
with him
brush.
just doing this, he doesn't have to go all
Yeah,
the way,
they
just,
just,
like,
but he has
just
to
be
have the
mindful.
machine
Okay.
outside.
Do the
and
fence up here and do the,
outside.
this one should have,
Okay.
you may even should do a hay
And
bale
it's not a
line,
big area
you should do
for,
a straw hay
to be
bale.
done by hand,
This
actually.
is really, there's
There's no
really,
issues with
this
the
is-
bridge at this
these are the
point.
ones that wash out.
Yeah, yeah, I get
Everything.
you.
The bridge actually is.
Alright. The existing stone swale,
I just wanna see if Brandon mentions
Bill.
it.
I don't
Yeah,
think
he
anybody
did,
has any
yeah.
issues with that.
I got some ideas.
Alright.
And the septic
wanna
was
see the
approved
plan?
before, it's the same septic that was approved.
I thought you were gonna be changing that.
Yeah.
It was, this is smaller.
Smaller.
Yeah, the previous one was 40% more. Actually, he requested to make a smaller one, to try to find a smaller system so he can keep as much trees as he can, and that's what we came up with.
Wait, what are we talking about, the
The
septic?
septic
We were just
system.
talking about something.
Septic system.
Now, you're 81 feet away from flag 27.
Yes.
My understanding is that Board of Health has been changing the policy for the 100-foot setback. Does that apply here? Do you have an application?
Yeah,
in
well,
Board of
it's
Health?
already approved. It was
Already
approved.
approved,
Yeah.
okay. Anything else I need to know about Raouf, about changes and fixes to what is going on?
Nothing. I think the major thing is just doing the drainage diverter and doing the stone footway, the wraps here and here, and we should fix most of the problems with the drainage
Okay.
and the erosion controls.
All right. Ralph, or Mr. Fisher, come here for 1 second. Mike, can you point this out right here? So this was the major concern of your abutters.
Yep.
Was the bottom, and I think this is great. This is a great fix, but we just have a small
So if
contour
you're at
that's not-
570 here and 572, and we're making this bump, which I agree, but doesn't this grading need to be a little bit higher? So that if it right? Some kind of a bump here,
So it follows this bump, that's all.
because I mean, there is substantial water, and it's in everybody's best interest to get it in that ditch.
The only thing is,
You drive through it.
the runoff from this point is it's only this area right here. That's where you get to the street, and he
Right, but
really has no
look.
control over it because most of it is in the neighbor's property.
Oh, no, we're just talking about this little corner right here.
So remember, as the water comes down here,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're talking about right there.
So,
Yeah, you can.
we had installed some asphalt drainage diverter right now.
Okay.
Several weeks ago, and in all of the past rainstorms, it's been catching 90+% of everything that comes down this hill.
Okay.
So there's a significant improvement.
Can you just clean up this contour and make us happy?
You can add a little berm here.
You know what I
that's
mean? Just, yeah, if we can just.
how sizable is this? Like, how much water is gonna be able to handle into this?
It's
Because that pipe, you know, in a heavy rain,
in 100-year storm, it's like half full.
Okay.
Not much.
so in 100 years, so that'll never overflow.
It should not. It should not. I mean, we haven't done the drainage counts, but based on the.
Because he's
what
gonna have
was
an open order
what
condition if
was-
I go there in a downpour,
that's
and the
based
water's
on-
flowing over this, then
That's based on what was submitted before. I haven't done any drain hydrology study because what was submitted approved before, this is larger, more than the.
So
212
Brandon,
inch.
Yes, sir.
so there's been no drainage calculations on that section of that invert where it crosses the driveway?
You have the right to ask for it if you want under the bylaw.
Well, yeah, I mean, so, I'm not trying to be difficult. This dumps a ton of water out into the road. So how could you, in good conscience, be an engineer, stamp something that's still very minute, and how do you know, so that you haven't done any engineering to say that it's
No, we
gonna,
haven't done, we basically compared this pipe that was installed to the what was approved.
because I question that that's big enough.
Yeah, what was approved before was two 12-inch pipes. This
So what was
one is-
approved before?
I know.
Didn't have enough information and it doesn't work and we have an issue there. So I think that there needs to be drainage calculations on that spot where the water and where the issue is. that will assure everybody that there's no water going into the road, because those are the rules.
Sure. I mean, if you wanna have it as a condition.
Because we can't just let engineering be a guess when it comes to
Yes.
something this.
This.
So what if it doesn't work? So what if we get a rainstorm and the water's flowing just like it was before?
So this was.
I'm just saying, what, so tell me then what happens.
These are the two things that we talked about. So this right here was the problem area, that was the complaint, and then over here was the silt fence and straw.
Right, you
wall.
gotta, we'll have to do a pre-construction meeting
Yeah.
with Brandon.
Yes, yeah.
So before he can
Yes.
start, he's gonna install, you know,
And he also.
surveyor has to write a letter
Yeah,
to the
that
town,
needs
just
to
so
be
you know
done.
things have changed. So the protocol, if this gets approved, is you gotta install your erosion control, set up a meeting,
Yes.
have you inspect it,
Yep.
write a letter saying it's been, and set up a pre-construction meeting with Brandon, and then you can start construction. Just so that's clear, because at one of the meetings, you mentioned that you had put some vinyl net straw wattle out. I didn't see black silt fence with it. That's not adequate. It has to be by this plan, right? You understand that this is a very different erosion control plan than what's.
Especially on the low side.
Yes, 100%
Just-
biodegradable
Did you say
and
so-
silt fence.
You didn't see silt fence the last time?
I don't remember. Well, let's just say that this way. Before you start construction, you have to follow this existing plan with that detail for straw wattles. And it says 100%
12
biodegradable.
inch.
12 inch. And you see your hay bale line. So, I mean, the question is, he's not disturbing up here. I mean, did you want to alter that, Raouf?
It's not, there is no disturbance. It's
I know,
just
but
we're
look at
using
you.
open
So
area.
where's, show me your hay bale line right
Right
now.
here.
It's not hay bales.
I mean,
It's
you
erosion
know,
control.
erosion control.
Yeah, this is the erosion control area.
Right, does he need to go this, so, remember, we're gonna go by the plan, so
That,
when we.
no,
come-
that was there before, ready for the previous works.
So this
Okay.
should be a plan of the work that you wanna do going forward.
Yeah, that's, the work that proposed is exactly the septic system and. the
Right, but,
remaining-
so,
these two.
when you set up your pre-construction meeting, and Brandon comes out and he has this plan, and he's looking for his erosion controls, highlight it for me where that's gonna be.
So the erosion controls will be only for here,
Yep.
That's what I was getting at.
yes.
Right.
These are new erosion controls have to be installed,
Okay,
and basically, this has to remain in place,
correct.
that's all.
And then if we're gonna do grading over
But
here,
again, I mean, he hasn't paved this road yet, so he still have to maintain the erosion controls again. Because this is
okay,
still
so
a
then
gravel.
draw, cause remember, we're starting all over again,
Yes,
so.
so all these erosion controls has to remain in place.
Okay,
until
and they're
this-
already there? And they're in good
They are-
shape?
They are already there, but these are extra, has to be there.
No, that's not true. None of these erosion controls, these have all been removed.
They've all been removed.
Okay, so they have to be in place again. Until you finish the pavement and finish this.
Correct.
This is
Well, we
already
just
done.
have to be clear so that we don't have any more trouble on this project.
Right, we just
And
wanna
that
get
it
it
just
done.
goes smooth and you get it done and,
Right.
and there's a process to it and it's not hard, it just has to be followed. So how do we handle this with no engineering?
How hard is it to do the drainage tests on that?
I mean, it can be done, it's not a big issue, I mean.
It's not a
you
big
can-
issue.
No, I mean, it can be as a condition if you like, but the pipe is there under the driveway, under the driveway, right?
I don't think that we can list that as a condition.
Because I think the pipe was installed during the previous order of conditions.
The pipe, I think we're all okay with.
Yep, pipe's fine.
Yeah.
It's that
and the
swell
the
and
outfall
what
of
it's
it was
gonna be able to
window.
handle and how much water's gonna be in it.
Right. Right,
So
and I
that we
think when
know
I
that
was
it-
there, we looked at it and I said, maybe even if you, because it's gonna be paved, and then raise the back of that up where it goes to the pipe. And if that meets the edge of this berm, I think you'll be golden. Because then if it does overflow, it'll go right across here and,
I just think it needs to be engineered
yep.
and the calculations have to be
So
done.
the calculation would be for the pipe itself, I mean, the thing.
Well, doesn't the pond have to catch, doesn't this have to catch the water?
Well,
Pipe's
this
gonna
is-
only let X amount of water go
There is no
through.
volume calculation for this one you can do. I mean, the only thing you can just add the berm and just make this open
Right.
more and you add more stone, but there is no volume calculation, you only can calculate the pipe based on the size, slope and type of pipe.
Okay.
So
If
how
you wanna
would
add
we?
the condition as just enlarging this one and adding a berm in here.
So I'm okay with doing it as a condition, because I know you wanna get going, and I don't have a problem trying to approve it.
You're okay with
This-
doing it?
Well, but let's talk about when this is gonna get done, because winter's coming. So I would feel more comfortable if we could put it to rest tonight, we can do this as a condition.
Okay.
But when is this go, because there's a roadway that's paved with a problem that's been going on for a long time. So I think that
I
if
don't
there-
blame this all on them.
No.
This road is it's in a hollow. It's in a swamp, and it's pitched back in towards your property. So it's never gonna dry out here. it's just not gonna happen.
It's not pitched toward him, it's pitched toward.
Oh, it is most definitely pitched toward him. At the bottom of his driveway, it definitely slopes back into that hole. I stood in the puddle before it rained. I was there.
That's in the road.
So if someone just gave me a feeling of when that work would be completed, so that there's no more water going in the road.
Right.
Whether it's a perfect design or there's water that still comes, but there's,
Well, could we
somebody's
condition
agreeing.
that be done before septic system?
No, because they're not gonna wanna drive the heavy equipment up brand new paved road.
No, I'm not saying pave it, but get everything
The
else
swale's
done.
done.
Oh, the swales, I'd be fine with that.
Get this ditch done,
Does that work for you?
It does not.
It does not.
No.
why wouldn't it?
The goal of this was to get everything done, right? Get the septic done at first. Get the septic done so we could complete everything. And then we brought in all of this additional work now.
That's always been there from day one.
No,
Had you-
this is all new work, right?
No, there was,
All of these
No.
changes are new.
the changes in
The
there.
only changes are here and here.
Right, but they're new changes.
Yes.
No, a lot of the work that's done isn't done correctly.
That's why it's being
So
redone.
Well,
it's
it's done to
not-
plan, which is unfortunate. The plan is not.
I disagree that it's done to the plan.
It-
I disagree.
Nope.
It's my
They-
prerogative. So we're looking to get these problems correct. There's work out here with a paved road. I don't think it's wrong for us to ask for this to be corrected before any work starts on the project. It's not a lot of work down here.
I think when we looked at it, I thought, somebody could get in there with a mini and just clean everything up, and we don't wanna make this hard, we wanna get it done.
I guess why wasn't that brought up back in April?
I think it was. We told you, when I was on site, the three of us were saying we wanted that done, like, right away, get it on this plan, so we can
But we
condition.
couldn't because we needed a new order.
Because it was
intent.
Right,
It was
'cause it's
expired,
expired,
yep.
right.
So now we've been waiting months, right?
For the new one to come through.
Correct.
You just
To be able to do
Right,
the
I
work
getcha.
that we originally
I
wanted
got
to
you.
do.
I got you. We want it done.
The problem is,
You want it done.
we want this somehow conditioned to be done, because if you get the septic and get approval to move the house, you have 3 years to close it out, and the water could potentially keep running in the road, which is
Right.
the biggest, I believe, the biggest problem at this point is to clean
If
that
you
up.
would just be willing to do this first, we can,
Can you do a 6-month condition or a 6-month order?
They could be a special condition.
So the special condition is that we, before any other work starts on the project, you do this minor work.
and we wanna make sure it works.
And then from here, you go right into your septic system.
That's our thing, we wanna see this work.
So what you would do is get your erosion control in place for your project. You'd get your letter, call, so you can start. This is not a big project down here. It can almost start consecutively. I'm sure that as soon as that's done,
It
we
can
could
move
do,
right up to the
it could be
septic.
one of our, we don't even have to have Brandon, one of us could do the site visit to see the work's
Right.
done. You could write us a letter just saying it's substantially completed, we'll keep it simple, and then go right into your septic. You gotta bring machines and equipment. And then the issue with the road's taken care of. We all don't
And I
have to.
think everyone's happy.
And everyone,
So I'd be willing to do that, but I would not be willing to pave this in the final coat with then all of the.
Oh, no,
No,
one's
we're not saying that.
No.
We're not saying that.
just this work here.
Just the work. There's
just
just
this
the
work.
drainage.
But for this to work properly,
Yeah.
this driveway, and that's the main issue right now, is that this driveway's final coat is not sloped for the water to drain off, so the water's
Right, we're not
draining back.
talking, we're not talking about the driveway slope, we're talking about this,
The drainage on
this work right here.
this area
Yep.
here and this area here.
Right,
And that's all they care about.
I don't want you to have to pave your driveway to get it all done, 'cause you're
right,
gonna destroy
right,
it.
because you're gonna have trucks going up and down here, we don't, we would never, we're not.
That berm and this swale here, they will help currently for fixing the problem until you get the road done.
Okay.
All right, you agree to that?
Yep.
I need a motion.
Make a motion to.
Oh, sorry.
Glenn just brought up that his client had to get a variance for the 100-foot for the septic.
He said they
so-
did from Board of Health.
It's already passed through, it's all done.
I mean, that's what they
But-
told
but
us.
Should they get a variance?
If it's passed through, it's done.
It's already been approved.
So you have an okay from the Board of Health, right?
Yeah, the septic is already approved from the Board of Health.
Then
Yes.
it's done, there's nothing, there's no other variance to.
Need a variance?
Yeah.
No, this is
They got rid of that
Done a
100,
while ago.
a- Yeah, this
long
was
time
done
ago.
like many years.
and it's still open and good with them, right?
Yes.
So what are the changes you're looking for?
Where the, what is this, the permanent paved drainage diverter meets the swale. We need those contours to meet.
I guess the easiest thing to say would we want all grading and all work other than top coat on driveway to be completed before commencement of septic.
That makes sense. And all erosions, all
And all,
erosion
yeah, you know,
controls repaired.
pre-construction meeting and
So,
erosion
so,
controls.
Mike, can you repeat that one time? I wanna make sure I get this.
You know what, I have an easier way, and this will be even less inspections.
Yeah.
Install all the erosion controls, send us a letter, do the work at the bottom of the driveway, set up your pre-construction meeting with Brandon, then he can review the whole site with the work, assure us that it's all set, and then start septic. How's that?
I think that's the best.
Yeah,
It's less trips, it's less,
right.
it's an easier process.
Joyce?
We've had problems with the road being blocked, Tim, you know, back so that people can't get through for 2 hours and it's a dead-end road and people have to get to school. So I'd just like to remind you that don't block the road till people get to school.
It has nothing to do with the Conservation
I
Commission.
know, but I'm just asking.
All right, and then, yeah, all erosion controls need to be reinstalled,
Per the orange line.
per the orange line.
So I'm gonna make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to issue an order of conditions for, what's the address here, 42 Bond Hall Road. Under the agreement that all wattles are replaced per the orange line on this plan. That all work be done parallel to Bond Hall Road in the swale area. And be completed when Brandon's called for the pre-construction meeting for the septic and everything else.
Is that
Before
it?
septic can start. Am I getting it all?
Brandon, does that sound
It
correct?
might be, but I'm not.
All right, so all erosion sediment controls replaced per the orange line. Work must be done at, we call it bottom of driveway, at bottom of way first. Then I'm to inspect that work.
When you do your pre-construction meeting for the rest of the project, just make sure that everything looks to be
Right, and I would like
stable,
to, I would like to
riprap.
be present for that meeting. Okay, Andy, present.
Everything other than top coat. And we did need an engineer's,
Okay, so we should do install erosion controls, and then Ralph's gonna do the erosion control inspection, write his confirmation letter. There will be an inspection, and there'll be the initial pre-construction meeting with the contractor who's doing the work.
Yep.
Okay?
But at that meeting, the bottom will already have been done.
It will? You want
Yes.
that done before any other pre-construction meeting?
Why
well, I
not?
only say that because it's,
Up to
it's,
you.
Speed up the process, start it tomorrow, yeah, I would.
it'll, I think it's the right case in this.
Right.
I
And then
get
if
it.
something
It's
happens,
just,
when
it's
you can
giving
look
them the
at it, say
ability to
something's
just get
wrong.
it done,
Right.
do one inspection,
Right.
And
put
not drag 'em on
disclosure
any
to
longer.
bed, yeah, to not drag anything on. That way, when you go to the site, you'll be able to report back to us that everything looks great, the work down at the end of the road is substantially completed other than top coat.
And they're moving in a month.
Yep.
And they
Then
have
you get-
geothermal heat, which is huge, that's huge.
And then just get the top coat done, because I believe that without top coating, if this is done correctly, you're gonna pretty much solve the problem, and then, you know, you have a certificate of compliance a couple of years, I would top coat when your construction's done.
Who's gonna do the
You know, no one's
second on
looking to,
that?
Mike seconded
I second
the
it.
motion.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's second, sorry?
I did.
Okay.
And this was 4-0 with Joyce.
Yes.
Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, you need to sign. That's yours.
Seems many people come and go.
What's the DEP number on that?
Oh, does that have a DEP
Yeah, it
number?
does, it's on the front sheet. I just wanna write it on my.
Look at something, that should be, if they do that, that's gonna be really nice. Would you like
It's
to?
the next word,
Right,
this word says.
Oh, 903.
Yeah, oh, 904.
And you know what,
Yeah.
to know that that's all little other these small little single family homes.
I'll look for the little sign.
It's good tax record, I mean, I do think that is some of the projects.
We need a,
We need
we
a
need a
plan
plan to
sign.
sign on this one.
Some of those are better than like malls and parking lots.
This is 42, is the stamp? Yep, this is stamped, so sign this one.
Because as the value goes up, we can see some of the projects that, as the years go on, we'll wanna build three-story apartment buildings. I
Mike, can you
guarantee it.
sign this one, please?
Yeah, take 5.
And the plan.
Hope the guys that do the work in there are as good as the engineers. They are, seem to be very nice.
Yes,
All right.
very good.
It's not behind it, we. No, not bad.
Too bad.
All right. Next up is 46 Torrey Road. The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 7th, 2019 at 8:35 PM at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a request for determination of applicability submitted to the Conservation Commission by Larry Deep, Sutton, Mass. The project consists of replacing a failed septic system within 100 feet of the wetlands, with no work proposed within 50 feet of said wetlands on map 53, parcels 3 on 46 Torrey Road, Sutton, Mass. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Welcome. You have a application pending with the Board of Health, or is it approved?
It's pending with the board.
It's approved.
No, it's still pending.
It's still pending, okay, sorry. NA on the abutters. You have a plan with us?
Yep.
Okay. All right, no other appeal board or anything like that with this, right? Okay. Can we get a copy of the plan up here?
Should be.
The mic. Go ahead, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Rauf Makaris with Alpha Omega Engineering. We have an existing field system that's within a 100-foot buffer. We're proposing to replace it with another system that's completely outside the 100-foot buffer. The only thing we will have is the septic tank and the pump chamber. There is no grading proposed within the 100-foot buffer at all. All the grading work and all the work is within an open area, grass area. So no trees to be cut in the 100-foot buffer, and no grading in the 100-foot buffer. And the existing system actually is in about 70 feet or 65 feet away from the wetland.
Okay.
That's
Plain and simple.
Yep.
Brandon, do you have any comments on this one?
I don't have any issues with this.
All right, Joyce, do you have any issues with this one?
Good.
Bill, Mike,
Yeah, no, I follow the plan, even the erosion control, it's got a little bit, it's like perfect.
Nicole?
Awesome.
All right.
Can we close without the Board of Health?
I don't know, do we have to continue and wait for the Board of Health?
The risk you take is if they
It was
make.
an RDA, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
This was filed as an RDA.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
yeah, perfect, so yeah, we can issue
Okay.
a negative.
You don't have to worry about the.
There's nobody from the audience with any comments on this, right? Perfect.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to issue a negative determination for 46 Torrey Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
You're gonna sign the plan, you sign this one. What's this one?
That's the first copy.
You staying up here with us, Ralph?
Yes, yeah.
Why don't you fill out the application for the board to be a member? What time is that? Wait,
Just waiting for the rain to end.
Doesn't live in town.
All right.
This is the next one.
Excellent.
For the RDA
Perfect.
plan.
Here's the plan for that one.
Did you send the plan on that?
Yes, we did.
We did. All right, next up is 169 8 Lots Road. The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 7th, 2019 at 8:45 PM at Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a request for a determination of applicability submitted to the Conservation Commission by El Husan LLC, Worcester, Mass. The project consists of construction of a single-family house with septic system and driveway all outside the 100-foot buffer on map 28, parcels 3, on 169 8 Lots Road, Sutton, Mass. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. We have plans on this one? Yep. Okay. Pending with the Board of Health?
Actually, it was approved with the Board of Health for old location, septic system location. This will be submitted to the Board of Health as being revised.
So this is a
plan.
new,
Yeah, but it shouldn't be a problem because it's in the reserve area, that was a reserve area. So
Okay.
shouldn't have a problem with that.
shouldn't have a problem, but it's still, I'm gonna mark it as pending,
Yes.
just, okay. What about planning or appeals? Nothing,
That's
no,
all.
okay. All right, and we don't need do we need a butters notifications back on this? No.
RDA's no.
RDA's no, okay. All right. Giddy up.
Good evening. So basically, the old house location, the house stays the same location. The old driveway was somewhere in here. The septic was where the reserve is proposed right now. After we found this wetland at the neighbor's property in the back.
Could you speak up a little?
Sure. After they decided, after we found the wetland in the back area and in the front, we decided to move the driveway more than 100 feet from the wetland and also move the septic in the reserve area and with all the associated grading. So we'll keep everything outside the 100-foot buffer. I did stake the 100-foot buffer, including for the wetland for the neighbor's property. And I think Brandon had a site walk today, and I believe everything should be fine. Just if you have any issues.
Brandon?
I walked the wetland line, which has been an issue. It looks good. Okay. Even the extent of the buffer zone, I didn't know exactly where the property line was, but I was trying to be respectful not to go over that line, to stay on the 169 side. Rob put up these 6-7 foot high 2x4s.
The grass is like
showing,
5 feet.
yes, because
Yeah.
the grass is like 4 feet tall. Show where the extent of the 100-foot buffer zone was, so that was very helpful. It looks good. My only comment is because this is new construction, it has been standard for the commission to require signage along the permanent limit of work. So I want to know what the commission thinks about that.
I have, just before we,
Yep.
so I see 100-foot buffer zone, limit of work, and you're outside really our jurisdiction. Where are you in our jurisdiction?
Yes, we are completely outside the jurisdiction.
Huh?
He's
We're completely outside.
Completely outside.
So then I don't think we should even require erosion controls, or, I mean, he's not doing any work in our jurisdiction.
Yeah, and that's actually uphill,
Yes.
so.
I
Well,
mean,
not towards the front.
no,
Actually,
no.
no, it goes down both directions.
The house is in the middle in the high point, then
Yeah.
downhill this way and the other way.
I mean, we've made a point so that he understands where the edges of wetland are.
Right.
He's not in our, he's not in our jurisdiction. I don't
Right.
think that we should dictate any, I'm
Right.
not gonna say anymore, that's all I have to say.
All right.
So it won't become an issue. I mean, does the applicant plan on not cutting those sections of the hayfield in the future beyond the limit of work?
I don't know.
This is what I'm worried about.
Yeah, but it's out of our jurisdiction, isn't it?
For the
Well,
moment.
not if they do something in there.
Right, now
I don't
here's the
think
thing,
they
it'll be
would.
easy to see up
They
front
would.
if they do anything.
Yeah,
Now, if they continue to hay it,
right.
you know, that's, you still call that a pre-existing use.
I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think we should have to be police. We all know
Right.
where it is.
But if
It's, I mean, it's not a mystery
Right.
anymore. It's
You'll-
wide
you'll-
open.
You're not gonna be able to see the back from the street though, because it crests and then it goes back down, you're never gonna see
I know,
that.
but Brandon, we can't start, like,
Right.
they're not doing any work in our jurisdiction. How do we worry? So I just don't think it's right. I don't. I feel strongly when they're not in the jurisdiction of conservation that why would we ask them to put, I mean, so we just ask, like, how do you do it if
Right.
he's not in our jurisdiction? How are we conditioning this project?
I'm with Mike on this one. Joyce, do you have any comments?
No, I know that it was an issue before because we didn't know where the wetlands were. Maybe there can be something put in, comment that there are wetlands there, and if they do work there, they're gonna have to file with us.
Sure.
Bill? Nicole? All right. This, that area of town is close to my heart. My wife actually grew up about 10 lots up. My brother and sister-in-law live 2 houses down next to the Andersons, so I think this is a great plan and it looks good, and I'm all for it.
And let's just say this, make sure your client understands that if he's to mow the glass in that 100-foot area, he has to come in front of the board.
Right.
Or we'll get a complaint, I know we will.
Right. Or they can hay it as it's been existing
No,
hay forever.
Can they?
Oh,
Without-
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we can hay it?
That's been hayed twice a
Okay.
year since.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, hold on, stand by. Anybody from the audience have any comments on this? Okay.
Make a motion to issue a negative determination for 169 8 Lots Road.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Thank you. Don't tell me you're staying up here again.
No, the rain
Oh,
stopped.
okay.
The rain stopped.
The rain stopped, you
The
can
rain
go home
stopped,
now?
you can go home.
Good night.
Good night.
Wanda, you might wanna keep this in a file, cause if someone calls
We need that
or
one
if
to
there's-
sign.
Well, oh, cause it's an RDA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at least we have a good plan on file, it
Yep.
it's exactly what's going on.
I don't have any plans on that.
All right. We don't have plans on this one?
You know, one thing, just to be consistent, so there's an empty lot and then a developed lot that we had some issues about where the 100-foot, we cleared it up, but he didn't have to file, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
this is almost the same.
Right.
So if we were to impose on this project and we didn't on the one lot over, I just think it starts to not be fair.
I'm with
Just
you.
so you know, some of my thoughts on that was because of that.
Next up,
Here's what I have.
okay, next up is 855 Gilmore Drive. The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 7th, 2019 at 8:55 PM at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a request for a determination of applicability submitted to the Sutton Conservation Commission by Mass Electric Company, Waltham, Mass. The project consists of installation of a new mini pad mount transformer, a new conduit, a duct bank, and associated handhole near map 45 parcel 60 on Gilmore Drive, Sutton, Mass. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. We have, these are the plans for this, right?
Correct, yep.
Okay. And do you, for this, do you have any other applications with any other boards?
Nope, this is it.
Okay. All right, all set.
Alrighty.
It's all yours.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kate Rimmel. I'm here from BSC Group on behalf of National Grid. So this project involves the installation of underground conduit along Gilmore Drive. This is within the Sutton Commerce Park. And the purpose of the conduit is to power some customer-owned streetlights. The streetlights are not being permitted as part of this project, but the conduit is. So basically what we have here, if you look in the plan that was provided with the permit application, the conduit will be running along the roadway on the north side here, and we're only in buffer zone. There's wetlands to both the south and north, but everything's going to be within the roadway. As part of the installation, there will be one new handful and one new mini pad mount transformer also installed. The handhole will be within the surface of the roadway, and then the transformer will be installed on the shoulder. So like I said, we're in buffer zone only. As always, BMPs, including sediment controls, roadway sweeping, containment of material stockpiles, will be provided as part of the process. And overall, due to the disturbed nature of the area, no adverse impacts to the wetlands are expected. It was pointed out to me that the commission does not allow any sort of plastic mesh netting. So in terms of sediment controls, I'm happy if you guys want to write in that just biodegradable controls will be required. But overall, that's about it. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Brandon, do you have any?
No issues.
No issues. Joyce?
No issues.
Bill?
No.
Mike?
My only question's on the erosion control where you're working so close to the roadway. We actually just did on a project allow the state to use the removable wattles that they could move around during construction.
Okay.
Would it be less of an impact to not have to install silt fence and wattles and in this case use the erosion control that stays together, it's easier to clean up?
I think probably that would make the most sense.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I kind of really watched that project and how they manipulated them around. And I thought it was a cleaner way of containing sediment on a roadway and then clean up. And I think it's more cost effective.
So what would you like to see written in as a special condition?
I mean, when you're in a roadway like that and it's utility work, what's the length of construction?
I think it's about a little over 900 feet or so.
And how long do you think that period of construction would be?
maybe a couple weeks or so. I don't think it's a huge duration. They are actually going along the length of the roadway, but this is just the only portion that's actually in jurisdiction.
So I think our only condition would be is we would expect it immediately be cleaned up after stabilization of any work to be done, so that we don't, see a unbiodegradable wattle.
Excellent.
I just think it would make more sense.
So a non-biodegradable?
Must be cleaned up. Nicole, do you have anything on this one? Anybody from the audience?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to issue a negative determination for Gilmore Drive with the addition of non-biodegradable wattles to be used so they can move it during construction.
And they must be cleaned up.
Must be cleaned up when done.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. We almost got back up. Okay.
Sign.
Oh, yeah. Sign this one. Yeah, that sign right on top of that, yep. Excellent. Next up is 480 Boston Road. The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 7th, 2019 at 9:05 PM at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted to the Conservation Commission by Christine Goodwin, Bristol, Rhode Island, right? Bristol?
Just moved to Cranston.
Cranston, Rhode Island. My friend's from Cranston. The project consists of creating a driveway existing off 8 Lots Road through the buffer zone, crossing the wetlands to a proposed barn within the 100-foot buffer zone on map 22, parcels 139 on 480 Boston Road, Sutton, Mass. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of general law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. All right.
Thank you, Conservation Commission. Glenn Kowalski from EBT Environmental.
One second, Glenn.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Abutters notices. Check. DEP number we
Piece that
have.
directly abuts where my, yeah.
Right in back of the monument.
Right. Applications with any other boards, Glenn?
No.
No?
We have an application number?
Right. 0906.
Correct.
Okay.
DEP issued the number. I noticed on your screen. I didn't see it up there. It was issued.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do a barn.
0906.
There's a fence here, but they wanna come in here because of.
Her comments were, it was Megan Selby, the amount of BVW where the roadway, the pre-existing cart path was that we walked with Brandon and Joyce. What's the square footage of a 12-foot wide roadway going across that? And it's 1354. That is now written into our notice of intent, that sheet. We're gonna submit that one single sheet or the cover sheet with that sheet to DEP so that they can account for the 1354, which is at this location. There is a proposed driveway. This was a utilized access way. We submitted 4 photos showing the pre-existing use of this. Ms. Goodwin and her mother both submitted letters that showed the pre-existing use. If you saw your notice of intent, at the end of it, you're gonna see, if I could come up here, the pre-existing crossing. So here's 8 lots, and that's the crossing.
Once again, I wish I had my iPad.
That's the crossing. There's the crossing again. There's the crossing more recently, and there's the opening now. So it was the clearer one is clearly this one, and the second one after that, it was used, and again, we have 2 affidavits from Ms. Goodwin and her mother, Ms. Emery. stating that they had used it over the years, and we did walk it with one board member, Joyce, and their consultant. And what we're proposing to do is gain access to a barn location. There had been some perks over here. There was previous discussions of a subdivision. This is not a subdivision.
So this is right at the intersection.
It's right at the intersection of eight.
Eight lots, yeah.
There's 8 lots coming in. Boston Road would be right here, so
What's
here's
that?
that Boston Road
Yes.
coming down. There is a
Right
USGS
next
in
door.
your exhibit, and then also an assessors map that shows that on your notice of intent exactly where that would be. And there it is.
Yep.
So, one thing we will say, that Brandon did look at the wetland line, but we performed 115 soil borings to prove that wetland line out there in the field, because a lot of it's been mowed wetland. So we, that's reflected on this plan. The heart of it, as you can see, there's a, so, this is where it goes back, that tree showing up on the plan. This is outside the 100-foot buffer zone, there's the tree. And, as I said before, the wetland does extend out into this area, and it shows here. And it is somewhat inside the field, it is being mowed by, what's the gentleman's name, please?
John Road, always mess up his name.
Sorry.
Rochford?
Roslow.
Roslow?
Wait a minute, Roslow, yeah.
John Roslow with the 4-H.
Yes.
Yeah.
He
So
has it
that-
under agreement for 3 years to continue to hay the fields and work with the 4-Hers, and we're about halfway through that.
3 year period. So we're, we did show, Megan wanted to see a detail on this would be a 12-inch sub-base to get through here. And at the elevation of the existing wetland, because you can't fill, you can't raise or lower the existing wetland elevation. So, we propose to put 12-inch base of bank gravel and account for the 1,354 as an existing 61A agricultural use. And one thing about that is, again, no draining and no raising of the land. So we're at the elevation of the existing land. Quinn Engineering did the plan. Mark LaPrade did the surveying. I did the delineation. And that's the state's comments.
How many square feet are you delivering again?
1,354.
Thank you.
Brandon?
I think this is all legit. It falls under the agricultural exemption. It's really an agricultural activity. It is a practical matter. The crossing itself is pretty darn wet and muddy and mucky. So I'm just wondering if you're gonna be utilizing the existing grade, what's gonna prevent you from getting stuck and quote and rutting and all that?
We did explain that there, well, that's why we put the cross-section on the plan, to show the 12-inch at-grade gravel.
And what is that gonna do?
At 12 feet wide, they didn't want to know what was gonna happen within this entire way, because this is loamy, so we're gonna take the loam out, we're gonna put 12 inches in there, and we're gonna put 12 inches in here, but not raise it above grade, and 12 inches here to get to the barn at grade, all that grade. So what the clauses we want to see is a raising or lowering of the land, so we're keeping it at grade.
But
On
it's
an
gonna
existing
be-
cart road use.
Right, it is an existing cart road. I agree with that. I agree with that. So,
We would anticipate, this is a headwater wetland, it begins, you don't see any water so much here, it begins right here. This comes through the field, very headwater, any weeping that occurs, there's no defined channel over here, just flow, headwater, groundwater discharge, minimal, at grade, and we'll be driving on that gravel base.
okay, so I'm looking at your plan up there.
This plan was just, we only got this DEP number a day ago, so we had
And-
Quinn immediately.
And what's the revision date on that
I'm gonna
plan?
give you this, and I know Joyce and everybody needs, this was July 19th. What are we on, July 19th, that's not the revision date, I'm sorry. 8/6/19.
So this just came out
Only
Yes.
because DEP just asked the question, so we immediately went to Quinn and,
We have a violation, Glenn.
of the 7-day rule.
We have a violation.
Yeah, I'm getting my.
We have a violation here.
Well, we can, we understand your violation, and we'll have to accept that violation. What the violation is that DEP just asked the question. So for that question, we answered, and we put it on the plan, and they require a plan 7 days prior to the meeting.
Was it a major change?
No, well, Brandon can answer if he believes it's major. It's a single number, 1354, and the gravel base showing.
Right, so, okay, so I'm gonna backtrack a little bit on my comments, because I didn't know, I thought it was just gonna be utilizing the existing ground at the existing elevations.
That's the way we understood it
That's
the
the
other
way
day.
we were-
Yeah.
Right, so now things have changed a little bit.
We're still using the existing ground, we're just changing
The material,
the
right?
material,
Right,
which
but
is what all.
that makes a difference with the agricultural exemption.
Well, part of the exemption says no lowering and no draining, so if we stay at the existing grade, we're not lowering the elevation and we're not draining the wetland. Like a couple of times I said.
But this is now what I would consider a more permanent crossing.
Well,
Whether you're gonna have a gravel base.
Right.
It's different than just utilizing the existing ground.
It falls between maintenance, because it has been beat up over the years, and there's some, 6 inches down, we've got gravel. It's been beat up over the years, so we're maintaining what we had used, and that's why we showed the photos. This had been a utilized crossing, it still has been within the last 5 years. We're just maintaining the crossing is the way we look at it, by not raising the elevation any. But still, again, gravel is just under the surface. We're ensuring that gravel is at the surface, and that to us is maintenance and not improvement. And you're right, the agriculture clause goes into whether it's maintenance of a crossing or an improvement of a crossing. And it
Right.
also goes into no raising and no lowering.
Right,
So
so
we're keeping at the existing grade.
This is just my first impression, is that this is an improvement of a crossing by putting the gravel down. But let's get out the definition, I'm bringing it up right now.
While you're looking that up, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Absolutely.
When you rut something, if you fill the rut in with gravel, it's just improving the rut you made, right?
That would
Maintenance of the
That would be
crossing.
maintenance.
So that'd be maintenance, which is allowed.
I
So
think
how's
what they're
that?
at-
We're gonna keep this in 61A, and that's her.
Yeah,
whole
so
thing.
that's my point, is every time an old farmer gets stuck, they'd either fill it in with gravel, throw rocks on it, old boards, whatever they did to get across it.
That's why we brought up the pre-existing, that it had been used, and there's also testimony in here that this is the area that had been used over the years. And there's the crossing.
Chair?
Yes, sir.
So let's just discuss the method of what we're talking about. So you're asking to dig it out 12 inches deep. How wide?
It's 12 feet wide.
So
It's
12 feet
standard-
wide, 12 inches deep, we're gonna dig it all out.
And
What are we gonna do with the soil? Are we stockpiling it on site? Are we loading it right into a truck? Are we keeping a nice neat trench with no disturbance?
No disturbance outside of that, that's why the mitigation
So
measures.
then they'll be
right-
hauling it away, there'll be no all on site of whatever that muck. that
There
you
is
just-
areas outside 100 feet from the wetland that we could stockpile it.
But they have to get trucks to it. Well, I'm just asking.
Presently, this is mowed and it's dry, so the mower is going through here. Yes, there would be creation of this driveway. That's why we filed for the driveway, that driveway, what we call this maintenance. And we would, if it needs to
I'm
be
not saying I'm
hauled-
opposed to it. I think
hear
what
you.
Brandon's getting at is this is more than maintenance. This is actually building a road through the wetland. And that's a different criteria.
That's at first blush, that's what it feels like to me.
And that's what I'm a kind of a black and white guy. I'm not trying to make it more difficult, but that's what it seems to me too.
Joyce?
So let's understand definition. I think that's what Brandon's at.
I just had an idea that, you know, when they use these mats to go through things, would that be a,
Those are like
Temporary,
temporary.
that's
yeah,
swamp
well, that's what I'm
mats.
saying. Could it be a temporary thing to get in and out of there and?
Well, she wants to
This is
build the
something you
barn.
don't
She
wanna
wants
use.
she wants a roadway over to the barn. And all I'm saying, let's get it right so you build the road right. Because my opinion, 12 inches of gravel in those, I do construction. And typically you need at least 24 inches of excavation, you need riprap first, then you need gravel, and then some type of material to stabilize the gravel. Or if it's not, if it's not very steep, you can get away with leaving gravel. So I think what Brandon's getting at is if we maybe look at this as not just maintenance, but build it right once. So you could go and put 12 inches of gravel and still be getting stuck in the mud in the spring and the fall. So even if it takes a little revision to the plan and one more meeting, but you can do I mean, we'll call it a roadway over to your barn, I think it's a win-win. Just my opinion. I do a lot of work in town, I do a lot of work in these fields. I'm sure these are tougher perks, it's a lot of clay, and if you don't get something underneath that roadway to just hold, it almost like holds water, let the gravel stay dry, and it'll give you a great roadway for a long time with, and the whole idea is to not have a mess for the future. You said that, we don't want anybody stuck. We don't want them going to get rocks and throwing boards. I hope that we're more civilized than that in today's day and age.
I just thought they wanted to.
So,
put a
I mean,
car
we
path
could
to
look
get
at
access.
definition, but my advice would be, I would do this more as building a road through. I don't think it's gonna be much harder than what you're asking to do.
Well, if they're doing a permanent driveway, which this is what it feels like to me, they would have to do wetland replication, because you're technically destroying that section of wetland, because it's now gonna be gravel instead of.
But it's at the discretion of the board if we make them do replication, because this is an existing roadway.
I don't know, but it's.
It's gonna kinda cut
But
it
it
in
wouldn't
half.
fall under the agricultural exemption. If they were just using the existing ground surface, the existing soil, not changing any grades, it's all exempt. But if you put in 12 inches of gravel, that's, even if you put it back at the existing grade, it's still considered fill of a wetland,
Okay.
right? That's my opinion.
So is a replication hard to do? I mean, it's a mowed field. It would be, would it be hard to do?
I don't think so, but that's, but.
Yeah. I explained this to my client, of course I did. The client wants, that's the utilization of the previous crossing. Yes, if we did something and if it was called improvement, then we would have whatever your square footage, if it's 1.5 to 1, 1 to 1 under the state law, it would be 1,350 square feet, 54 square feet. It would be a 1055 4B 1 through 7 clause that we would use potentially, unless we talked about a 1053 3E clause, which is I have no other means of access to my own property. There is a narrow piece of right up against the fence right here. If somebody claimed, but that isn't the narrowest point, there could be this narrow point, so I would say that if the commission was working with the agriculture and it was an improvement, then it would be 1,354 square feet under 1055 4B. We would be going like this. Can we cross a wetland and replicate it? And that would, and that's what Christine was looking for. So yes, there is a way to come about the same point we have by doing the 1054 clause.
You had mentioned that there was gravel on this cart road prior,
Yeah,
right?
there's gravel just under the surface.
Can you
correct.
prove from end to end there was gravel there before?
Yeah, but I don't know if I can prove it's right at the surface. Now it's drier. In the wintertime, you're right, it'd be mucky, but during the agricultural times, they weren't doing anything.
If he could prove that there was gravel, and it was,
Yeah.
and it was a gravel drive prior,
I think he meant there's gravel underneath the soil.
Yeah,
The whole
about 6
thing,
inches
not just
down.
in that
oh,
spot.
all right.
It's 6 inches, there's a mud layer
You
now.
don't want to pave this, right?
No.
You just want an old-fashioned car path to get to the barn and not get stuck.
That's correct.
But if you put that gravel across, you're going across the whole wetland, so wouldn't you need to have some pipes underneath it?
No,
That's-
not, because we
that's-
weren't raising the elevation, so any weeping that goes on, it will go through the rock. In the wintertime, yes, it might be a moist cart path, but the problem, the issue under agriculture clause, you can't raise them. If you're using that clause, you can't raise them.
How wet is it right now?
Walkable, I mean,
So you can't
I'm
drive
not
over.
walking, but
Could you
it's-
drive over it a couple times with the truck and sink it in?
No, yeah, he'd
I
say.
think you would.
Oh, so Brandon says if you think we could, so why don't we do that and we repair it, and when it's just a
No,
repair,
I
put a
think
foot
you
of
would get
gravel.
stuck.
Okay,
Get stuck.
after you get unstuck, put a foot of gravel on top of it and solves the problem. It's a car path, it's what Sutton's based on. I don't wanna make a mountain out of a molehill to get to a barn. It's not a house, it's not a
May I
development.
request, because this is a day before change,
yeah.
can we stick to the policy? It'll give me till the 21st to get my ducks in a row and we can reconvene.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yes,
If
sir.
I do agree with what you said, but if she starts to build a new barn and starts to use it every day, and it's a mud mess, because it was an old cart road that didn't get built right, I just think it's in her best interest to build a
If she wants to
decent-
go to that extent of doing it, but if you wanna keep it a car path,
I'd be willing to keep it simple because of the existing, I like where you were trying to go, there's an existing roadway through there.
Right.
Unfortunately, over the years, the sediment's built up, so that's why I'm saying I'm totally cool with it, but let's do it right. Let's just give her a decent roadway to the barn.
Nicole, do you have anything?
And make it a
else?
simple process.
Joyce, do you have anything else?
I'd like to see it continued and give it some thought.
Anybody from the audience?
I do.
Okay.
Mary.
What's your name and address?
It's Terry Peters, 13.5 Westwood Drive.
Okay, come on up.
Do I give her the documentation of the report?
Oh, you
that
show
I
it to
did?
us?
Yeah, you can show it to us.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just throw my highlighter, win my heart over.
I will. I didn't know how many people were on the board. This is some of the research.
Depends on the day.
We can share a couple, yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
And if I might read this, so it's on the record. Dear Chair, notice of intent of 480 Boston Road, DEP file number 903-906. Dear Chair Smith and members of the Commission, as a direct abutter, please accept these comments as part of the public hearing record for the above referenced notice of intent application. I have reviewed the notice of intent plan containing 2 sheets entitled Conservation Permitting Plan in Sutton, Mass., 480 Boston Road, dated July 19th, 2019, and prepared by Quinn Engineering, Inc. The plan was given to me by the applicant's wetland consultant. I did not receive the actual notice of intent application, so my comments are relative to viewing the plan only. Based upon the review of the plan, it is very apparent that the notice of intent violates the base provisions of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Sutton's Wetland Bylaws, Section 12-5B. In addition, the activity as shown on the plan does not meet the test requirements as required in the Commission's documents entitled Avoidance of Minimization Requirement under the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaws, dated July 20th of 2016. I draw specific attention to the section entitled 1, Impact Avoidance, subsections A through F. The plan clearly demonstrates that the proposed activity, which consists of constructing a barn with access through the bordering vegetation wetlands, BVW, can be completely avoided without altering the wetlands resource area. There is ample uplands to conduct the proposed activity in accordance with the Commission's avoidance and minimize requirement under the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. And Section 12-5B of the Wetlands Bylaw, there is ample uplands to the east of the wetlands flag, 17A through 25A, with viable access from Boston Road. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, the project would not qualify as a limited protection under 310 CMR 10-533E, as there are clearly other means of legal access to uplands on the applicant's property. The plan states that the access through the BVW as an agricultural maintenance drive. Nowhere on the plan does it state the amount of BVW being altered or where replication is being provided. I state again, no alteration should be permissible. However, I only bring this to your attention for reference purposes only. The agricultural maintenance drive, I suspect the applicant's property consists of 3.3473 acres and was part of a larger 17.29 acres single parcel prior to 2014 ANR submittal with the planning board. The original 17.29 acres was classified as Chapter 61A on November 22nd of 2005 by the Town of Sutton assessors, and a lien was recorded in Book 37878, page 215. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. A new lien was recorded after the ANR parcel division in Book 58900, page 327, that recognizes the applicant's property is now separated from the larger parcel and is also in Chapter 61A. Since 2005, there was no need to ever construct an agricultural maintenance drive in order to maintain the agricultural portion of the property for almost 15 years. Why now? The original 17.29 acres parcel can be seen on the permitter plan, Chapter 41, Section 81X, dated July 8th of 2005, and recorded in Plan Book 830, Plan 71. The most recent A&R endorsed by the Sutton Planning Board under Chapter 41, Section 81P divides the 17.29 acres into two, Lot 1, 6.3473 acres, NOR parcel, I don't know if I'm saying that right, NOI, and Lot 2, 10.9437 Owens parcel. The plan is dated July 10th of 2014 as recorded in the Plan Books 907, Plan 121. The A&R plan for Lot 1 has a notice entitled Plan Access at Existing 15 feet wide bar way. This note was necessary to demonstrate vital access to the planning board due to the presence of the wetlands along the portions of the frontage. Moreover, the plan clearly shows that there is approximately 44,158 square feet of wetlands. Access to Lot 1 shall be from the location as provided by the planning board and recorded at the Registry of Deeds. The applicant created lot lines and had plenty of uplands to configure said lines during the A&R planning process. As such, no hardship exists in accordance with Section 12-9 of the Wetlands Bylaw. In my summary, the night, again, I don't know how, it's NOI.
Notice of intent.
Notice of intent, I'm sorry. Application is an abuse of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Sutton local bylaws and regulations, and I strongly suggest the application be denied. The applicant's representative have the burden of proof under Section 12-13 of the Wetlands Bylaw to demonstrate no vital alternatives to available uplands of the same owner on the same parcel for the construction of the barn. I am a strong opponent of destroying Sutton's natural resources areas when alternatives are available, and as such, I will appeal if an order of condition is granted. And if you notice on this, the second, when the parcel was split, there is, and the planning board did grant access on Boston Road, access to get to the uplands without going through the wetlands, which was not brought to your attention here.
Thank you, you did a lot of research.
So you're ultimately saying that the applicant created their own hardship by subdividing the land the way that they did?
Technically, yes, but again, they split it off. So if you, can I show you this?
See that Boston Road easement, does it show the
Juan,
easement?
can you stamp one of these in too for
kinda.
your record?
She did.
Okay.
Now, are you a direct abutter to this property?
Yes.
No. Your property doesn't touch this property. From what I looked at, it doesn't touch the property. You're in a butter, but not a direct property.
Okay, I don't know the difference. I mean, we received
And which-
notification.
So which part of this is,
Are you across the street?
We're at 15,
She's right here. Please, thank you. Here's the parcel.
Right up
here. Yeah.
She's here. There's the distance between, so a direct abutter, she's not touching it.
Okay.
This, I met with this gentleman today. He's an ex-teacher. He was fine with it. He cut off this piece of property, comes off this road. That's where,
That's
the
our
ma'am,
residence.
The lady and the gentleman live. And as far as direct abutter, they don't touch each other. That's all I want to say about that. They are abutters, but not direct abutters.
Okay.
Is this an old
Yeah, that property's not split, correct?
Well,
In this
let me
picture?
then go to the Sutton website then.
Ma'am?
Christine Goodwin, when we subdivided the property into 2 parcels, we had no idea what the borders of the wetlands were. They were never described. So the hardship is that we did not know that boundary, and that, 30 years before we bought the property, that is showing on maps, that cart path. It was used for the equestrian events with the collies when they lived there, and we've got the aerials to show that. And if we had known some things that took place, we needed a little more land, and this is the way it was divided, but we did it unknowingly.
We're running late here. We're gonna continue anyway. I think we got a couple of issues here, that we need to get sorted out. First one is we only have had this new plan for a day. We need it for at least 7 days.
I can sit down?
Yep, you're all set, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have an extra copy of whatever?
I have one up here, yeah.
Do you have an extra one, so that
Yeah,
one can
that's
stay
one
in
she
the
stamped
record?
in, so don't.
I thought we had 2.
Yeah, we got one.
We have.
You have an extra one?
Yeah, we got an extra one.
Thank you.
Glenn, I think you've heard our concerns.
Yes, yes.
Um,
I understand them. I understand them well.
I think that it needs some thought, maybe you and Brandon via email and.
I'm gonna put because the nature of this changed, and I understand the practicality of it, but I also have to be aware of what the legalese, what the regulation says. Which
And
might
he hasn't had
change-
enough time to do that.
Which may change, yeah, potentially changes the nature of all of it, so I need,
We'll, if I can, we can
Confirm.
talk back and forth on the
Yeah.
email.
Are you
2
good?
weeks enough?
2 weeks enough?
2 weeks of.
Make a motion to continue to August 21st at
At 8:20.
At 8:20.
I'll second it.
Yes, it is.
All
It
those
will
in
not-
favor?
Aye.
Aye. It will not be publicized.
August what?
August 21st at 8:20,
you
so
very
you
much.
just have to know to show up.
You won't be getting a direct notice, so
Is it the
just put it
second?
down in the,
Mike.
in your
Mike.
calendar.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay.
There's all,
August 21st at 8:30.
put all this
20.
together.
8:20.
Thank you.
Okay, Wanda.
You can check the agenda for.
Did you guys, you folks put your name on the sign-in sheet by the door? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Wanda,
Have a
here's
good
a
night.
whole packet. They
Thank you.
just have that for next meeting.
Yeah.
Page 2.
Page 2, we've done the minutes, so we're gonna look at the project update for 182 Manchog Road. Issue with sinkholes behind the wall.
So contractor called me up.
I
said
have
there
the
are-
same thing going on.
Yeah, but sinkholes happening, can I fill them in?
Stone.
Really just topsoil and turn into grass again.
Okay.
At this point. I see that as maintenance of the existing condition.
Okay.
So I said I'm gonna bring it up just to make sure, but that's my opinion.
Does anybody have any issues with that? Nope. No. Okay, tell them they're all set. Planning board review for 8 Christina Lane, the accessory apartment. Which one is that?
Wait a minute, I've got it all, hold on. And which one?
8 Christina Lane. Is that the one off Leland Hill? Oh, no, that's not. No.
Is that the one down near the police
These are
station?
planning board reviews.
So this is a routing slip from planning?
8 Christina Lane is off
It's off
of
of Purgatory.
Purgatory Road.
I've never heard of her.
It's.
Oh, you know what? It's the short little wing there. Casa built it. Not Franny, his brother.
Venicasa? Steve?
What was no? What was the Franny's brother did that little circle?
Project review.
Oh, yeah.
Can you pull
Right there
up-
on the right.
Can you
What
pull
was
that
Franny's
up,
brother's
Brandon,
name?
and see
Still
what?
lives there, I think.
All right.
Yeah,
All
I need to
right.
see children.
Goodness.
8
kids in it.
Christina Lane. Location of proposed use is 40 feet west of the existing dwelling.
Is it a standalone or connected?
If it's 40 foot west of the existing house, I'm guessing it's standalone. Check
So is this for determination if they're in,
It's a freestanding structure is to be serviced with a new Title V septic system.
So it's in other words.
It is a
it's kind of
proposed,
two houses on one.
so it's
Yeah,
like one
you
of
can
the.
do it.
It's
The
like,
zoning allows it.
It's like one of those granny pods.
There's nothing on the GIS that's raising my eyebrows.
Okay.
I have not been to the site, but there's nothing on the GIS overlays that's concerning,
Does anybody else wanna look at this?
So it's no issues.
except
Okay.
for perhaps this area right here. And see this contour?
Yeah.
That contour has me a little concerned. It looks like it's this dark area.
Yep.
Looks like something.
This dark area looks like there's something running through here. So maybe on the very western, southwestern tip here, there might be something.
Okay.
This area looks fairly benign to me, but this area does not.
Yeah, the proposed structure is gonna be 40 feet to the west
Okay, so
So-
40 feet to the west of the existing structure?
of the existing structure.
so there.
That's barely at the end of the
Okay.
driveway. So I
Yep.
would, without going there, I still think they're all right.
Okay, so I'll write no issues found. Alright, and then, that's for Wanda. Is this another one? Or is that?
No,
That's the second one.
134, the other two. Project.
We need to release the enforcement order.
Yep.
He had called me because he had dealt with us before.
Yep.
And he had done the work last fall but neglected to notify us, so I had him write a letter saying what they did and when. And I had been down there in the spring and you went down that day, I believe.
I went
so-
down that, last week.
So I think we can release
So-
the enforcement
Yeah,
order.
all the silt is cleaned up, it looks excellent. Did you and Matt get a chance to walk it?
No.
Okay, so the silt problem is gone, and we can release this enforcement order, but,
Motion?
yep, motion.
Make
for
a
that.
motion to release the enforcement order for 134 Leland Hill Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I'm gonna need the,
I'm sorry, who did the second?
Joyce.
Now he wants to put an accessory apartment in.
But here's the issue with it. I don't know, and it doesn't look to be a historic problem,
Yeah, that.
but the water coming down that hill, there's 2 storm drains in that roadway right at the bottom of the hill. And that pipe, in a heavy rainfall, is starting to erode the hill down to the swamp, beside the cemetery. So that needs to be looked at before when he files, you know what I mean?
Well, that has nothing to do with his lot. That's more of a road issue.
No, it's all the water's coming from his lot when he cleared the driveway. So all the silt came
Well-
down, and then they put in a riprap swale, and the swale has like the detention basin the size of this at the bottom of it. So after
Yeah,
it
no,
rains,
they put
fills
that
up.
swale
after it
in.
rains for 5 minutes, it fills up, and it goes into the town's catch basin, which goes to a concrete pipe,
Yeah.
and the pipe is flowing at max capacity, which I'm sure is not good for it. So I think they're gonna need to put in some sort of water infiltrator or something on their end to take some of the water, you know.
We already did that.
But anyway, that's for the future, that's what I saw. So we can sign off on, where is the,
Enforcement order, you have something for us to sign for that?
so on this, Brandon, I'm gonna have him come in because it directly affects that wetland.
You know, I
Yeah.
just sent myself an email to remind me to call Matt Stencil.
Okay.
So do you want him to come to the next meeting?
You sent a friendly letter to start, right?
Yeah, I would wait until he files,
Yeah, wait till he files
So he
it.
needs to file for what?
because the water from his property is going under the road and going directly into the wetland.
Right, so that creates a nexus.
Right.
Even
His
though-
project is outside of 200 feet or.
Right, but there's a stormwater nexus.
Right.
So there's stormwater causing erosion going all the way down the hill.
Even if it's just an RDA with us, he's.
Right, right, so if there is stormwater causing erosion into the buffer zone, it doesn't even have to be into the wetland itself. It doesn't matter if the project is a mile away.
Yeah.
If the stormwater goes a mile down the road, or wherever, down the hill to the wetland, then the commission then has jurisdiction over the project, no matter how far away it is.
And he still has some other issues with some other, the other departments.
Yeah.
That he needs to clear up before he can file for this.
All right, so this one, that one's, the first one is no issues, and this one he needs to file something. All right, partial C of C for 227 Putnam Hill, Blackstone National Golf Course, Mike Gordon.
Okay, so that's the big ball.
Yep.
So the issue is, we just renewed his permit.
Yep.
So why is he asking for a COC? The reason why is because he's selling off the 2 lots up by the Red Barn.
Yes.
He's been on the market for I don't know how long.
My mother was looking at him.
Right, and he actually has a competent lawyer who knows that when there's an open order, he has to get a certificate of compliance before the lien can be released, so he can sell them. So he's looking for a certificate of compliance on the Thames Hog.
I only see one lot on that photo though.
I don't see that as being a problem with all of the in perpetuity conditions that are in it.
Yeah.
We can maintain the same requirements as we have been doing with the reporting every year and the requirements for when he can and can't pump and how much. So these are all put into the order conditions as in perpetuity conditions, which can then be put into as in perpetuity conditions in the certificate of compliance.
Does anybody have any issues with that? Need a motion?
Make a motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance.
Nope.
I think you can do it complete.
Complete?
I think you can.
With ongoing conditions?
With ongoing conditions that are specified in the existing order.
So should I check ongoing conditions? And then
Yes.
specify it in existing order?
Now, as far as the vote goes, Nicole is new, but probably Bill and I are the only ones that were here for the whole
Yeah.
thing, so.
So there's only
Yeah.
3 of you.
It doesn't matter, it's old enough where we can all vote.
Yeah.
Now, how many times has this commission approved
Who did the
something from
second?
back in the 90s? There
We
was
haven't
no one.
seconded yet.
So-
Make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 227 Putnam Hill Road with the, to be noted that the conditions that were allowed specified in the existing order are continued in perpetuity.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, who did the second time?
You can't say this one. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's smart.
So the police department building committee has not reached back out to us at all?
Which committee?
We had an issue, which I think is a non-issue, but we had a complaint with the heavy spring and water running down behind the new police station and into
Oh, yeah.
the pony pen.
The Mosers?
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is.
I would just
that.
like a response on that.
Well, no, I think what it was the letter was just informing them that that had happened and it may be an ongoing problem.
Okay, so it wasn't, we don't need a response on it?
I don't think we need a
All
response
right, Wanda,
on
can you
that.
take this off the?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
what I needed to know.
Yeah, remove it. All right.
Go on.
So Manchog Road, Torrey Road boat ramp is going to be removed from the agenda until she gets the information.
Yeah, because I'm not getting the whole page number.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last meeting, weren't we gonna?
Yeah.
Weren't we gonna ask him to file it
Yeah.
under a new order so that we could sign off on it? Same thing we do on all the other old ones?
This comes from a lawyer. It came from Ty and Bond, I believe.
So
I've asked them to get me the numbers so that I can.
it was probably clearly was never recorded. We don't believe it was to be recorded.
I can't find the recording.
So can we?
registered and
Yeah.
recorded land and did not find it.
As did I too, and you're better at it than I
Yeah,
am, so
I mean,
two
I
eyes
looked-
looked at it.
So it definitely has not been recorded, and
So-
it definitely needs to be recorded.
So
Well,
they
then
may
you're
need to
gonna have
file
to
again.
sign another one.
Yeah,
I
so
don't have it typed up.
No, but they have to.
they have to do
Ty
it.
and Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would, Wanda, can you write yourself a note to respond to Ty and Bond and tell them we want it done? And if they have to refile, then refile and do whatever they have to do.
Yeah, say,
We want this stuff off our books.
Well, it's not that they need to refile. You guys need to re-sign.
We can do whatever they want.
That's the easiest thing to do.
We
You're
can,
right, Wanda.
we can do whatever they want. All right. So, next thing is amend the order of conditions for Matt and Julie Sabrin, which is 5 Sunrise Drive. I read through this stuff. I did not do a site visit, but it all seems like tweaks. The house is almost done. I think it would probably be minor field change stuff, but
That's your call.
Brandon, do you have anything
I
against that?
recuse myself. I was the
Yeah,
contractor on that.
Mike McGovern recuses himself on this one.
I don't have any issues.
Okay. Bill, no issues? Joyce, do you have any issues on?
I don't really know what they're asking for, but.
Okay. Did you get the email from Wanda?
I didn't see it.
She sent it last Friday. There's some minor tweaks. Right side of the house, they wanna add a 4-foot wide walkway to get to the back stairs.
Disturbing drain.
Under the back deck.
That's on the side toward the neighbor that had the issues.
Yeah. We would like to install brick pavers under the back deck. Those are impervious. Install drainage behind our lake wall, everybody has that. It's all minor stuff.
Okay.
So no issues? Trying to make a motion?
Make a motion to, make a minor field change. Amend the order of conditions for 5 Sunrise Drive.
In a second?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so Wanda, we're gonna issue a minor field change for,
No, I amended order of conditions.
our amended order of conditions for
I don't know
5,
why this is in the file.
for 5 Sunrise.
Wanda, here, you're missing this from the file.
Okay,
All right.
yeah, so who's doing the second on that?
I did.
Joyce did.
Okay, now. Is it a 4? That's gotta be a 4.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, she can't vote on that, yeah, it's 4.
Well, wait a minute.
No, it'll be
She-
3.
3, because.
Oh, yeah,
Mi-
3, sorry, yeah, 3, Mike was out.
So what is this going
That's,
now?
I believe,
That's 40
Glenn's,
Boston Road.
Boston Road. We good?
Yep. Nicole, did you have any progress on figuring out those fees and?
I didn't honestly get a chance to look at it today.
I think for the time being, we should suspend collecting that fee until we find out exactly.
Collecting what fee? You can't.
Of course we can.
You can't.
Of course we can.
No, it's been approved at town meeting and it's all in there. You can't suspend collecting that fee.
I believe we can.
I believe you can.
Brandon?
Go check with town council because
in the list.
Yeah. It's so vague and it's so
it
sketchy.
is not.
Oh,
We voted on it, it went to town meeting, and so I think it's, if you wanna discuss it, I spent 6 months doing all of this, I researched it, Mass General
Oh,
Law.
I'm not-
It went to town council and everything, and you cannot suspend that.
Can I ask what you suspending, what are you talking
He wants to suspend the municipal bylaw filing fee.
That's the one we-
It's been in effect for
It's been in
20
effect
years.
for over 18 years.
The one we
got
just approved?
removed.
Yes,
Right, the one that was
yes,
removed,
yes.
right.
From the bylaw and never got put into the regs, so I had no idea, and I did not collect for it like I had been.
But it's been in effect for many, many, many years.
Then why did it just go to town meeting? I don't understand what's different.
Because I really don't wanna get into this because we
had to
did that
remove
for
from
6
the
months.
bylaw so that every time we wanted to make a change, we didn't have to go back to the selectmen, it got put into the reg.
Right, so why couldn't
Now
we suspend it?
don't have to do that.
Because it's been approved at town meeting and it's regulation. Now, if you don't have that fee, it comes out of your taxes and my taxes.
Which it should, we're a town.
Well, no.
All right,
Because
I'll take a
this
motion to
board,
adjourn.
this board, when it's Wetlands Protection Act, we are an arm of
I
the DEP.
make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I completely disagree with that, Joyce.
Well,
Nicole made the
go see
And
Jim Smith,
I-
spend the
Are we
money.